What is up, YouTube? It is Zar-Kombat. We're live streaming the UFC Paris entire main card, prelims, early prelims. So I'm gonna be live streaming the card for you guys. I'm gonna be dropping some few reactions. And then I just want to know what you guys think about the entire card, man. UFC Paris, obviously no Paris next week, but yeah, man, it is a big card going down in Paris, France, at the Accra Arena. It's a big one. It's a very big card. Title implications. Um, title implications. With the main, most of the fights in the main card. Some of the fights in the main card are gonna um, we're really gonna dwell into who's gonna be a top contender. You know, we got big fights at lightweights, debuting fighters. So we're gonna be just dropping some gem, man, some gem on the UFC Paris card. Obviously, you know, next week there's no UFC, so it's gonna be a long weekend. Um, this week with no UFC for us hardcore MMA fans. We don't really know what to do on Saturdays besides watch the UFC. So it's gonna be a nice one, man. It's gonna be not really nice, but it's gonna be a very long week for hardcore MMA fans. Cause for most of us, we don't know what to do on Saturdays if there's no UFC. I know for me, I don't know what I'm gonna do. But UFC Paris, man, it's a big card going down September 6th, on the 6th of September. Yeah, on the 6th of September, UFC Paris, it's going down. So yeah, man, I'm gonna drop a few predictions for the main card. I'm gonna tell you guys the fights that are gonna be going on, who I think is gonna win, who I think is gonna lose. Anything you need to know about the fighters that are gonna be on the card if you're not really sure about who's fighting. But yeah, man, UFC Paris is going down not next week, but the other following week. So no UFC next week. Sad, but we've got UFC Paris to be happy about. We've got Ayush George in the chat. What's up, George? Where you from? Where you watching from, bro? Where you watching from? And again, guys, please make sure to subscribe. We're getting my followers, my subscribers up. We're getting them up. If you're new to the chat, subscribe. It's an all MMA channel, everything MMA, everything UFC, PFL, Bellator, EFC, ONE FC, and boxing sometimes. I'm not really a fan of boxing, but when there's big boxing events going on, I like to do live streams for those as well. But right now, again, we're doing the live stream for UFC Paris. UFC Paris, it's a big fight card going down at the Accra Arena on the 6th of September. Imavov, Nasruddin Imavov versus Kalio Bohalio. We wanted it. Wanele? Uzancane ngapha. A big fight card going down. Big fight card going down in Paris, guys. So Nasruddin Imavov versus Kalio Bohalio. That's a big one. That's a big one in the middleweight division. Most likely the winner of that fight is gonna get Khamzat Chimaev. So it's a big fight between two guys that are right now, in my opinion, you know, that fight is the biggest fight outside of Khamzat Chimaev and DDP. Kalio Bohalio versus Nasruddin Imavov is going down to UFC Paris. We're doing the live stream. I'm dropping some predictions on the card. And here we go again, guys. Please tell me if you cannot see me properly. Just tell me if you can't see me properly, man. My camera's got a bit of a problem. So if you can't see me properly, just tell me below and I'll try and fix that right now. We've got Mr. Block KG saying hi. What's up? I see you, dog. I see you. Again, guys, make sure to subscribe to the channel if you love the UFC. So UFC Paris, here we go. UFC Paris. Let's start with the early prelims. With the early prelims, right at the beginning of the night, we're gonna have Shannon Brennan versus Hughes. Um, Bannon, I hope I'm pronouncing her name right. She's a fighter from Ireland. She made a UFC debut, I think, a couple weeks ago at one of the UFC London cards. So she's a big name in Ireland. She was a I think she was a champion in Cage Warriors. If she wasn't a champion, then she was a big fighter, a big name opponent, a big name in the fight warrior scene. She's been around for a very long time. And then Hughes, a veteran in the UFC strawweight division. She's been around forever. She's been around forever in the strawweight division. She will be back in 2 weeks against Shannon Bannon. She'll be looking to cause the upsets. I'm assuming that since Paris is in Europe and Ireland is also in Europe, so Shannon Bannon is gonna have most of the crowd backing her in the fight. What did it? She's gonna have most crowd backing her up. Um awuzancane nefoni yakho ufuna uthi ngibonakala kahle yini la. Yeah, Shannon Bannon versus Hughes is gonna go down at strawweight. My prediction for that fight, I think the wrestling of Hughes will be too much for Bannon. Hughes was a D1 wrestler. I think she made it to the Olympics or something. I don't know, but she's been around in the UFC for a very long time. She's not the best striker. She doesn't have a solid stand-up game. She's not very big at the stand-up game, but when it comes to taking you down, like diving on your legs and taking you down, she's, in my opinion, one of the top three in the strawweight division. That's what I believe. So for that fight, the first fight of the night at UFC Paris, I've got okay, so for the first fight of the night at UFC Paris, I've got Shannon Bannon versus Hughes. I've got Hughes winning most likely by submission. First fight of the night. Yeah, no more shy on there. Yeah, man. Shannon Bannon versus Michael versus Hughes. I've got Hughes winning that fight by submission. And then we move on to the second fight of the night. We've got a fight. Yep, we're back. Sorry for the interruption. Again, guys, we are doing the UFC Paris. UFC. Let me see if I've still got my see if I can still stand up. I haven't boxed in a long time, but if these guys wanna try me, man, if these guys wanna try me, hey, boop, 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 boop. So for those of you guys that think I can't fight, remember that I can. I'm not doing this MMA channel for nothing. I know how to fight. Just showing you guys. So okay, man. Back to the live stream. Second fight of the night, we've got Brett Tavares fighting out of New Zealand and America. He is been in the UFC for a very long time and a veteran at middleweight. I think he's the only, not the only fighter, the second fighter. There's only been two fighters in the middleweight division to take Dracus du Plessis, our champion, the African GOAT, the South African Golden Boy. Dracus still knocks Duplessis. Brett Tavares, the only fighter besides Khamzat Chimaev to take the African Golds, the South African Golden Boy, Dracus Duplessis to decision. He did lose that fight. It was a dominant win for DDP. But again, man, back to Tavares. Tavares has been in the UFC for a very, very long time. Like he's been in the UFC since they were wearing like shorts, like before the Reebok era. So he's been in the UFC forever. He is fighting a guy from Poland. I'm not sure how to pronounce his name. I think it's Bezizik. Brezizik. Brezizik. Brett Tavares versus Brezizik. I don't have much knowledge on Brezizik. I think he's making his UFC debut, if I'm not mistaken. But for the second fight of the night, man, I'm gonna have to go with Brett Tavares, only because he's a UFC veteran and I want to see him win. You know, when I see new guys coming into the UFC, normally I support the veteran, I support the OG in the game. If I don't know who's making the UFC debut, so basic. Unlucky to you, my guy. I do not know you. I do not know who you are. Hopefully, you put on a good fight. But for this one, man, I have to go with the OG, the real veteran in the middleweight division, Brett Tavares, the Aussie, the New Zealander, been in the UFC for a very long time. I'm gonna have to take him in this fight. Yeah, man, Brett Tavares, I've got him winning. I don't know how, but I just have him winning that fight because he's an OG. He's been around the UFC for a very long time. Literally faced everyone in the middleweight division from Israel Adesanya when he was in his prime to Dracus Duplessis in his prime to Robert Whitaker in his prime to fighting Derek Bronson in his prime to fighting guys like Yoel Romero. And remember when Yoel Romero was the scariest fighter in the UFC when he was just knocking guys out. Like Brett Tavares was fighting those guys. Like, so he's been in the UFC for a very long time. So I'm gonna have to pick him in that fight. Again, guys, if you're new, if you're just joining the chat, we're breaking down UFC Paris. No UFC next weekend, so we're doing the review, the entire card review for UFC Paris on September 6th. It's going down in Paris, man. Make sure to subscribe for all your MMA content and do not be afraid to drop a comment. Ask me anything about UFC Paris, anything about UFC at all. If you want to talk about MMA, any fights that you want to talk about, do not be scared to drop a comment. I'll be here for a while, so I've got all the time in the world. Planning on doing a 2 hour stream, or at least an hour. Um, but I'll be here for a while, so any questions on the UFC, just drop a comment below and I'll see the comments here at the bottom and I will answer your questions. But make sure to subscribe. So yeah, the second fight of the night, Brett Tavares, the OG. I've got him winning that fight. And then we move on to the last fight in the early prelims. We've got Patterson versus Waters. Again, two guys that are not really big names in the UFC, but um, Patterson, I remember him. He had a war against I'm not sure who it was, but a while back in the Apex. I remember one of the cards that were in the Apex. They had a war there. Waters, I'm not really familiar with this game. I think he's one of the guys that came up from the I think he's one of the guys that were coming up from the Dana White's Contender Series, if I'm not mistaken. I might be mistaken, but again, I'm not sure. But yeah, Patterson versus Waters. It should be a fun one at welterweight. Both guys, um, man. They've got a solid record. Patterson has been in the UFC. Got released, came back, and won a couple fights. Waters was fighting in Dana White's Contender Series, so I think that's how he earned his contract. And so for that one, I'm gonna have to go with Patterson just because he's the more experienced guy. He's faced higher level competition. Obviously, Patterson coming from England, so he's trained with the best from England. Your Lerone Murphy, your Darren Till, Tom Aspinall. He's been in the gym with all those guys, so that shows um, the difference in the gyms that these guys fight at. So for that reason and only that reason alone, I'm gonna have to go with Patterson on the last fight of the early prelims. That's who I'm gonna have to go for. Um, we've got a comment here before I move on to the prelims. We've got a comments here from Sue Fain saying, "How I was working at McDonald's? I do not work at McDonald's, bro. Don't work at McDonald's." And we've got a comment here from can't really pronounce his name, but he thinks that Arman is fighting Paddy Pimblett. Yeah, I've been hearing that rumor, man. I've been hearing that rumor that Arman versus Paddy might go down at UFC Qatar, November 22nd, I think. But I don't think Paddy Pimblett is gonna take that fight. It's Arman Sarukian is the number one contender at lightweight for a reason. So I don't see Paddy Pimblett taking the fights against Arman. I think Arman will most likely fight Dan Hooker next, and then I think the UFC are gonna do Justin Gaethje versus Paddy Pimblett. I mean, they have to do that fight, whether it's a fight night main card or it's a pay-per-view co-main event for 5 rounds, Paddy versus Gaethje. Because I guarantee you right now, boys, I can guarantee you right now, if Paddy Pimblett is given the contract to fight Arman Sarukin, he's not gonna sign that contract. He won't sign that contract because he knows he's gonna lose. As much as Arman Sarukin is the number one guy in at lightweights, he's the number one contender. Paddy's not signing the contract to fight that guy. That's for sure. I can guarantee you that. So I think it's gonna be Paddy versus Gaethje. Gaethje said if they offer him the Paddy fight, he might as well retire, which is crazy. I don't know why he said that because I think that's a very winnable fight for him. But I think that's what the UFC are gonna do. Dan Hooker and Aman Surukian, and then Gaethje versus Paddy Pimblett. Got more comments here. Paddy is in no position to negotiate. I mean, yeah, he is in no position. But then again, man, I mean, the UFC can't make these guys fight. If the UFC gives Paddy Pimblett the contract to sign Arman Sarukian, he can refuse that fight. He can say no, and then they're gonna give him maybe another fighter like Gaethje, and if not Gaethje, then maybe a guy that's ranked below him. So he can negotiate. He can negotiate. Um, because I think with the UFC they have to give you at least a chance to fight 3 times a year. You can say no if you don't want to, and I think Paddy will not fight Aman Sarukian. Another comment says here, I think Justin Gates gets Ilya Abturo. I don't think so, boys. I don't think so. I think Gaethje needs to fight Paddy Pimblett. I mean, I don't know why Gaethje is not taking that opportunity, man. I think what the UFC are gonna do is um, they're either gonna give Ilya Topuria Paddy Pimblett because they had that off. They faced off in the cage when Ilya Topuria won. But I think that would have been a nice opportunity for Gaethje to raise his hand and say, UFC, I want to fight Paddy Pimblett. Because if the champion wants to fight Paddy Pimblett and then Justin Gaethje beats Paddy Pimblett, then he earns the opportunity at the belt. Because if Gaethje can't fight Ilya Topuria, right now, because he got knocked out by Max Holloway and then he came back and he went to a decision with Rafael Faziev, who took the fight on short notice. If maybe if Justin Gaethje knocked out Rafael Faziev at UFC 313, then I think we would be talking about Gaethje versus Ilya Abturo, but I don't think it's happening, man. Um, got another comment here from Ben triple five from Ben 5999. He says, "I think Arman should fight Paddy as well." Yeah, I'd like to see that fight, but I think that's an easy fight for Arman Sarukian, man. I mean, what's Paddy gonna do? What's Paddy gonna do? Take him to the ground? He doesn't want to go to the ground with Arman Sarukian. I mean, Arman Sarukian trains with guys like Hamza Chimaev, your TJ Dillashaw. Um, he's got one of the best wrestling in the game. I mean, we've got to remember Arman Sarukian took the former pound for pound number one in the world, Islam Makachev, to a decision. So I don't think Paddy wants that fight, man. If I was Paddy Pimblitz, I wouldn't fight. I wouldn't fight Arman Sarukian, at least not now. I wouldn't fight Arman Sarukian. Um, and then we've got comments here saying Justin sacrificed his career for UFC 300s. I mean, yeah, I remember Gaethje did a couple podcasts saying that the UFC came to his house to beg him to fight Max Holloway. Um, I mean, I don't think he sacrificed himself. I think he believed that he was going to beat Max Holloway. That's why he took that fight. But yeah, I don't think he sacrificed himself. I think he got paid a lot of money. I mean, if the UFC comes to your house to beg you to fight a guy so you can save their card, because if Justin Gaethje versus Max Holloway wasn't on UFC 300s, um, it would have been a whack paper. I mean, it would have been a banger pay per view. But that fight was one of the best fights ever in the UFC. So I think he did the right thing with taking that fight. Got another comment here from Ben 5999 saying not really because Justin had the BMF belt that was on him to defend the belt. I mean, yeah, he had to defend the belt against someone. So it only makes sense. It made sense for Max Holloway to move up to lightweights and take that fight. Because I think at the time Charles Oliveira was booked to fight. Oh, I think he was hurt. I think Charles Oliveira was hurt, and he didn't have many challenges, man. He didn't have any challenges for him. He just beat Dustin Poirier by knockout, so it made sense to make Max Holloway versus Justin Gaethje at the time. Again, guys, we are doing the UFC Paris prelims review. We're reviewing the main card. No UFC next weekend, so I'm doing the entire UFC main card prelims and early prelims review. But I just want to read your comments before I move on, and please make sure to subscribe. We love MMA. Just go and hit the subscribe button. I've got a comment just saying you were supposed to get a title shot if he wasn't if he didn't agree to fight Max Holloway. Nah, bro, nah, I don't think so. I don't think so. Because I don't think he was gonna get the title shot, man. I don't think he was gonna get the title shot. Um I think the UFC wanted to do the Arman Sarukian versus Islam Makachev fight, and then we had Charles Oliveira there. So the rematch was also there for Charles Oliveira. So if we're being honest, I think Gaethje had to take that Max Holloway fight just to be active. But I don't know, man. Maybe he shouldn't have took that fight. I've got Ben 5999 saying Justin always whines for a title shot. He's so annoying. I mean, he wasn't always this way. I mean, I understand where his frustration is coming from. I mean, I think he's like 36 years old now. So he knows that he doesn't have much time left in the game. He's closer to being sorry for the had a bit of a connection there problem. But yeah, we had Justin always whines for title shots. He's so annoying. I mean, I get where the frustration is coming from. Justin Gaethje, we have to remember he's 36 years old, and cutting down to 155 pounds when you weigh like 190 outside of fight camp is not easy, especially when you get older. You get older, then there's new guys coming up in the division. But if Gaethje gets one win, man, if he gets one win, if he fights Paddy Pimblett, even if it's a boring fight, if he gets a win over Paddy Pimblett or Arman Sarukian or any of these guys in the top five, he's getting a title shot. So I don't know why he's whining so much. We've got a comment here saying now I think the UFC owes him. Nah, the UFC doesn't owe Gaethje anything, man. I mean, Gaethje signed the contract to fight Holloway, and he signed the contract to fight for Zeev, and he got paid. I mean, if you get paid to do what you're supposed to do, then you they don't owe you anything. Ha! You've got a comment here from Ben5999 saying, I think Paddy starches him. No way, man. If Paddy wins against Gaethje, it's gonna be on the ground by maybe submission or I don't know, maybe he just wrestles him for the entire fight. But I don't think Paddy Pimblett is knocking out Justin Gaethje. If he couldn't knock out Michael Chandler, then he's not knocking out Justin Gaethje. Yeah, that's what I think. Again, guys, UFC Paris in 2 weeks, September 6th. We're doing the entire card preview. We're done with the early prelims. We are moving on to the prelims. Again, guys, make sure to subscribe. Zar-Kombat, subscribe for MMA content, UFC content, anything you want to know about the UFC. I'm the guy you want to subscribe to. Let's move on to the prelims of UFC Paris. The first fight of the prelims, we've got it's a big fight at featherweight in the featherweight division. Gomez, obviously from France, so he's going to be fighting in front of his people. He's going to have the crowd behind him. Fighting Ruchala making his UFC debut. Um, I think Gomez is going to win that fight. I think the home crowd advantage is gonna be it's gonna put a lot of pressure on him to go out there and put on an exciting fight and actually get the W. Um, so for the first fights of the prelims, Gomez versus Ruchala in the featherweight division, I've got Gomez winning that fight. Yeah, and then we move on to Gustafsson versus this is a hard name to pronounce. So I'm gonna try to pronounce his name properly. Flakredinov. One of those guys that come from those countries in Europe that you do not know how to pronounce. Your Dagestans, your Chechen, one of those countries. It's um it's a big fight at welterweights. Frekridinov. Frekridinov has got a reputation for being one of the best wrestlers in the welterweight division. And then Gustafsson, I think Gustafsson, to be honest with you guys, I don't think I've watched his fights. I've never watched him fight before, but I know he's got a lot of heat behind him. I heard he was like in the Nazi or something, and he was supposed to fight at UFC London, and then that fight got cancelled, and then he's gonna be fighting in 2 weeks in Paris against Fakhridinov. I think I'm pronouncing his name right. Actually, this is the fight at welterweight. It's a fight at welterweight, and I think the UFC are giving Gustafsson a very, very um, they're giving Gustafsson like a fight for him to lose because Gustafsson has a lot of controversy outside of the UFC. It's kind of like Sean Strickland. You know, like how Sean Strickland is always getting in trouble in outside of the UFC. So the UFC are giving him a difficult fight, and I think Gustafsson is going to lose that one. And I think Flake Redinov is going to win that one easily. That's going to be a nice one for a nice fight for Flake Redinov to get back on the win column. And then back onto the comments, we've got Ben5999 saying it's a different Gustafsson. There's two Gustafssons in the UFC. I mean, the other Gustafsson that lost to John Jones, the one that had the fight with John Jones, I think he retired. Yeah, it's the bald guy. It's the bald guy with all the tattoos, and I think it's the one with the Nazi tattoo on like his shoulder or something. But yeah, I think the UFC are giving him this hard fight so he can lose. And then if he loses, most likely he's gonna get the UFC doesn't like drama, so they might just get him out of the UFC if he loses. Ben5999 saying this Gus said that crazy wrestling style, it was fun to watch. Crazy, man. I've never seen him. I don't remember watching him. I think maybe I watched his fights, but never really knew who he was before he became like known for getting in trouble in the UFC all the time. But I've got the other guy winning. I've got the other guy, Fred Kritinov, winning that fight. And then we move on to a bang of fights in the heavyweight division. Tai Tupuria is back versus Deli Gia. Deli Gia making his UFC debut. A lot of guys are gonna be making the UFC debut in Paris, man. So it's good to see the UFC opening doors to other talent. But Tupuria, Tiberia, been in the UFC forever, faced everyone, Tom Aspinall, Derek Lewis, Tai Tuivasa. He's faced all these guys, man. He's been in the UFC for such a long time, and he's fighting a debuting Deli Gia, fighting all the way from Croatia. Um, I think Taipuria is gonna put on a wrestling clinic. I think he's just gonna take down the guy and wrestle his way to a decision. But I'm not really sure what the other guy is bringing into the UFC. Never really watched his fights. He's making his UFC debut, so I've got to Taipuria winning that fight. Just because he's been in the UFC for such a long time, he's faced everyone. Tom Aspinall, Derek Lewis, who else? Tai Tuivasa. He's faced Tai Tuivasa. He's faced everyone at heavyweights. So I've got Taipuria from Poland winning that fight. Ben5999 saying, why is he fighting Siberia? What kind of BS is this? I mean, it's a big opportunity for him. If you're making your debut, you want to fight a guy that's known in your division. So he's fighting a veteran in that division. It's kind of like if you're making your debut in the UFC and you're fighting at welterweights and you're fighting Neil Magny, you know, a guy that's faced everyone in the UFC. So I think it's a big opportunity for Daili Gia to get the upset and fighting a veteran at heavyweights. But I think Tiberia is going to be too much for him. Ben 59 5999 saying, why is Tiberia fighting a no name off a 3-fight win streak? Exactly. That's what I was about to say, man. I mean, that does not make any sense. But he knows why he took that fight. Maybe he was having troubles fighting a guy that's ranked higher than him. You know, I know most guys don't want to fight guys that like to wrestle. So guys that really have a strong wrestling game, normally they have a hard time getting fights in the UFC because no one wants to fight a wrestler. Because you don't want to get taken down. You're training to strike with the guy and put on a fun fight, and then the other guy's just taking you down the entire time. So maybe I think he was having a hard time getting a fight. So I think that's why they're giving him a no-name guy in Deligia. making his UFC debut. But I think Siberia gets the W, man, just because he's a veteran and he's been in there with everyone. You've got a comment here asking me you've got a comment here from I'm not sure who he is asking me where are you from? South Africa, bro. South Africa, Durban. Um, I live in South Africa, bro. I'm from the country where Drake Du Plessis is from. I'm from Drake Du Plessis' country. Ben 5999 saying they should have given him Volkov. Volkov is fighting, man. Volkov is fighting at UFC 321, I think, in Abu Dhabi. He's fighting what's that guy from Brazil? That guy from Brazil, man, in the top five at heavyweights. Trying to remember his name. But he's fighting that big Brazilian guy. I'm forgetting his name. Sorry, I'm forgetting his name. I want to remember his name. But Volkov. Alexander Volkov has a fight. He's fighting at UFC 321. Francis Ngannou fights Deontay Wilder. Yeah, man. Ngannou. I don't know what's going on with Francis Ngannou. He keeps looking for all these boxing fights and he's losing all of them. I want to see him back in the. I want to see him back in MMA, but I know he's got a bit of trouble with the PFL because the PFL came to Africa. They were actually in my country. The PFL they came to South Africa 2 times, and Francis Ngannou did not come to any of those 2 events. And now the owner of the PFL is angry with Ngannou. So I don't think they're gonna allow him to fight Deontay Wilder until he fights until he defends the PFL heavyweight championship. I think Ben 5999 saying PFL came to Africa before UFC. Exactly, bro. Like it doesn't make any sense. We were supposed to have UFC Africa like last year, man, when Drake Du Plessis was the champion, you know. But the UFC still owes us. You know, the PFL showed the UFC that they can come to South Africa and they can come to Cape Town, they can come to Johannesburg, or they can even come to Durban, where I'm from. We've got a stadium here, a beautiful stadium, Moses Mabhida Stadium. They can also come here, man, and fill up the stadium. A fight night for Dracus Du Plessis versus anyone in the top five. Dracus Du Plessis versus Daniel Derrida. Dracus Du Plessis versus Hernandez. Dracus Du Plessis versus Kalio. Anyone in the top five. The UFC has to give Dracus Du Plessis a fight night in South Africa, man. They have to. They didn't give him an opportunity to fight here when he was a champion. They have to give him an opportunity to fight here. There's a lot of arenas in South Africa, so UFC has to come here. The PFL came here 2 times in 1 month, and the UFC can't come here 1 time. It doesn't make any sense, man. But hopefully UFC South Africa happens. We've got Dracus Du Plessis, the number one guy in the middleweight division. A fight night for Dracus Du Plessis in South Africa makes the most sense, and they have to come here. Again, boys, UFC Paris in 2 weeks. We're doing the live stream. We're on the prelims right now. If you just joined the chat, make sure to subscribe. Everything MMA, everything UFC. I'm the guy you want to subscribe to. Got everything, man. I'll tell you the fights that are coming up. I'll tell you, I've got reactions to pay-per-views. You love the UFC, you love MMA. Subscribe to Zar-Kombat. Subscribe. UFC Paris prelims. We move on to Sai versus Ribeiro. It's a fight at light heavyweights. A big one at light heavyweight. Sai, obviously from France. So he's gonna have the home advantage, and then Ribeiro, a veteran in the light heavyweight division, been in the UFC for a very long time now. I think he got cut, and then he came back, lost a couple fights, but he's back. He's fighting Sai. Sai fought at the last UFC Paris card and he got a big victory. So for this one, I think Ribeiro might take it to the ground. He's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He's got a black he's a black Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioner. He's uh got like a whole lot of belts in these jiu-jitsu tournaments, and he's been in the game for a long time, man. So I've got him winning that one by submission. So I'm again, boys. For those of you that just came on the chat, we're doing the UFC Paris live stream review. I'm gonna do the prelims one more time for you guys. My predictions: first fight of the card on the prelims, Gomez versus Ruchala. I have Gomez winning that one at featherweights. And then we move on to Gustafsson versus Flekridinov. A big one at featherweight at welterweights. I've got Flekridinov winning that fight um, at welterweights. And then we move on to a fight at heavyweight. The big boys, Tiberia from Poland fighting the debuting Deligia from Croatia. So Poirier is gonna win that fight. He's a veteran, been in there with Tom Aspinall, been in there with Derek Lewis, been in there with Taito Ivasa. So I've got Tiberia winning that fight. And then the last one on the prelims side game, Sai does not have he hasn't been in MMA for a very long time, so I've got Ribeiro winning that fight, most likely by submission. I think he takes it to the ground and he gets a submission. Ribeiro has faced like the best guys in jiu-jitsu. He's got a whole lot of belts in jiu-jitsu, you know, been in tournaments. I think he was also in the Olympics as well, so he's got a good resume. I think he wins that one by submission. And then before we move on to the main card, let's read some of the comments and let's see what you guys are saying. Rwanda Ben5999 saying Rwanda has the best arenas in Africa. Apparently, they could do it there for Usman's retirement fights. Yeah, they could also do that, but I'm gonna be selfish and I'm gonna say South Africa, man. I'm gonna say they've got to come here. Cape Town was voted the best city in the world for I think a fourth time in the row. Cape Town being in South Africa, in my country, we've got a whole lot of arenas, man. We've got a lot of arenas in Cape Town. We've got a lot of arenas in Durban, where I'm from, and a lot of arenas in Johannesburg as well. So they can do the Rwanda fight for Usman after they come here to South Africa. We've got Idris Edits 11 saying, "What's up, man? What's up, bro? Hope you're good, man. Hope you're good, bro." Idris saying, "Alex Pereira versus Ankalaev would be a good fight." I hope so, bro. I hope so. But I'm kind of scared for Pereira, man. I've been looking at Pereira's Instagram, and it doesn't seem like he's training, man. I think he's got a big movie coming up, and he's been in the studio shooting a movie, and he's got a fight going down September 4th. He doesn't look like he's training, so I'm kind of scared for Pereira. I want to see him get the belt back, but he doesn't seem to be focused. But Shama, all the way. Even though I think Ankalaev is gonna win, if I was betting, I'm gonna bet on Ankalaev because Pereira doesn't seem to be training. He doesn't seem to be focused. But the Shama man, Alex Pereira, I hope somehow he gets it done, and I hope he knocks out Ankalaev. Okay. UFC Paris. We move on to the main card. UFC Paris review, the main card review. That's what we're breaking down. That's why we're live. And again, guys, make sure to subscribe for any MMA content. PFL, UFC, FC, One FC. I'm the guy you want to subscribe to. But right now, we're doing UFC Paris. We've done the early prelims. We're done with the prelims, and then we move on to the big one, the main card. And the first fight of the main card is a banger fight at lightweights. We've got ZM, obviously from France. I think his name is Fayem ZM fighting Fernandez all the way from Brazil. If you remember for ZM had that big KO. I think he need Matt Fravola. I think it was, yeah, at the last UFC Paris, like he need Fravola on the face and he knocked him out. So it was a good knockout for him in front of his people. He's back. He's fighting Fernandez, all the way from Brazil. I think this one should be an easy W for ZM. I think the UFC want to see him win in front of his people. They do not. They're not really rushing ZM into the top 15. I think they're kind of building him up to be one of the big stars in Paris in France. They've got Cyril Gahn, they've got Benoit Saint-Denis, Cyril Gahn. Not really a fan favorite right now because most of the fans think he lost against Alexander Volkov. Benoit Saint-Denis is coming off of a loss, and then the other superstar in Paris is that lady. What's her name? Menon Frenor. I don't think I'm pronouncing her name right, but she lost to Shevchenko a while back. So I think the UFC are building ZM to be a big star for them in France. So whenever they come there, they can have him as the headliner. But yeah, ZM versus Fernandez. I think that's an easy fight for ZM. He should be able to win that fight easily. I think he gets first round KO or even around two, maybe around two KO. But I think he wins that fight because the UFC are building him. They're giving him easy fights before he can crack into the top 15 at lightweights. Because the lightweight division is no joke. Like once you get into the top 15 at lightweights, it is no joke, man. From the number 15 to the number one guy to the champion, it is just killers, killers, killers in the lightweight division. So that's a nice one at lightweights. ZM versus Fernandez. I've got ZM winning that fight. And then we move on to a big one at light heavyweights. We've got Buka Yuskes fighting the legendary OG of the light heavyweight division, Paul Craig, back at light heavyweight. Been in the UFC for a while. Um, Paul Craig from Scotland is fighting at light heavyweights again. That's a fun one at lightweights. I mean, at light heavyweights. I think Paul Craig gets the W. I think Paul Craig, the ground game of Paul Craig, is just levels above Buescas. I think that's an easy win for Paul Craig, man. I think that's an easy win for Paul Craig. And then we move on to UFC Paris, UFC Paris, UFC Paris. UFC Paris, guys. We move on to Okai versus Mason Jones. Okai versus Mason Jones. That is my prediction for Fight of the Night in UFC Paris, man. It's my prediction for Fight of the Night. Mason Jones put on a banger at UFC London. He had that war. Mason Jones had a war. I'm not sure who he was fighting at UFC London, but Okai versus Mason Jones is my prediction for Fight of the Night at UFC Paris. I think it's gonna be such an amazing fight, man. Mason Jones, whenever he's in there, it's always violence. It's always violence. Like he's got one of the best right hooks in the game right now. I mean, like his right hook is up there with Malcolm Wallmaker, that prospects at bantamweight. But yeah, I've got Mason Jones winning that one versus Okai, and I think that's the fight of the night, man. I think that's definitely the fight of the night. Mason Jones, it's always a banger when it's in there. Um, one of the best fighters in the one of my fan favorite one of my favorite fighters in the UFC right now. I mean, it's Carlos Prates, it's Mason Jones, it's Dracus Duplessis, and then it's everyone else. I've got a comment here saying Reyes. I think you're talking about Dominic Reyes. Yeah, Dominic Reyes is fighting. It's UFC Perth. He's fighting what's his name? Carlos Alberg. That's gonna be a fun one. A fun one for 5 rounds. Dominic Reyes. It's good to see Dominic Reyes back, man. I mean, kind of lost a lot for the last like 4 years, and then now he's back. He's on a 2 fight KO streak. And with the win over Carlos Alberg, I think he gets the title shots. So yeah, man, 2025 is the year that Dominic Reyes earns his title shots, and he's coming for the winner of Pereira versus Ankalaev. But back to UFC Paris. We're live streaming UFC Paris, the card. We're doing the entire main card right now. We're done with the prelims and the early prelims. And then we move on to Patricio Pitbull. Patricio Pitbull back against Kaita. Kaita making his UFC debut. Um, Kaita, man, there's not really much to say about him. I haven't really watched his fights thoroughly, but I've seen some highlights, and there's been a lot of hype around him. And it's good to see UFC signing guys from other promotions besides Bellator. Because the UFC are always signing these guys from Bellator, and they give them like these top guys in their divisions, and then they end up losing. But Patricio Pitbull, um, he's back for the third time this year. He lost against Yair Rodriguez at UFC 314, and then he got the W against Dan 50K Ige. Wasn't the best fight, but a win's a win. But now he's fighting the UFC, the debuting Kaita, and I'm very excited for that fight. Kaita, I've been watching a lot of his highlights on Instagram and on YouTube, and he seems like he's a legit featherweight. So the featherweight division better watch out, man. Like the featherweight division better watch out. There's a new guy coming for everyone's spots in the top 15. Kaita making his UFC debut versus Pitbull. For that one, I'm gonna have to go with Kaita, man. I mean, based on what I've seen, the highlights that I watched, I think Kaita is gonna be too much for Pitbull. Pitbull, you've got to remember, he's 36 years old. Pitbull is 36 years old, and he's a lightweight, cutting weight to fight at featherweight, which does not make any sense to me. But that's his decision. But for that one, at featherweights, I've got Kaita getting the dub. I've got Kaita getting the W versus Patricio Pitbull. Yeah, boys, UFC Paris. Um, Comment below, man. What are your thoughts on the main card? And then we move on. We move on to everyone's favorite fights. Everyone's favorite fights at UFC Paris. Benoit Saint-Denis is back, and he's fighting Mauricio Rufy. What a fight! What a fight at lightweights. Um, Benoit Saint-Denis, he's like I think he was a soldier or something. Like he used to like kill people for a living. So he's a very very intimidating guy. And then he's fighting Mauricio Rufy. Mauricio Rufy, obviously one of the guys that's at the Fighting Nerds. He's coming off of a big win. He's coming off of a big win over Bobby Green. He knocked him out flat at UFC 13. It was a crazy, crazy, crazy KO. And for that fight, man, Benoit Saint-Denis versus Mauricio Rufy. I think Rufy KOs him. My Mauricio Rufy is gonna KO Benoit Saint-Denis in front of his people. I think he's gonna KO him flat, flat. That's my prediction for that fight. I think it's gonna be a fun one. I think they're gonna go to war. Um, Benoit Saint-Denis has a tendency of keeping his hands down and moves forward with his chin up in the air, so he can get caught by anything. Because Mauricio Rufy, you never know what he's about to throw. One of the best, slickest, and one of the most devastating strikers in the game right now. So I think Mauricio Rufy gets the job done, and I think he gets the W on that one, guys. I've got Rufy winning that one, and then that's a big one. That's a big one at lightweights. Benoit Saint-Denis versus Mauricio Rufy. It's a big one at at lightweights. I think the winner of that one is gonna get a top 10 fight. So if I get my prediction right, which is Mauricio Rufy, if he wins that fight, I think he gets a big name like a Benil Dariush or a Renato Moicano. Whoever wins that fight is getting a big fight next. And then the fights that we all wanna see, the fights that we're gonna be all excited for. Nazardini Marvov versus Kalio Pohalio. They've been beefing online forever, and then it's time to settle the score in the cage. The only place where it matters: Nazardini Marvov versus Kalio Pohalio going down UFC Paris. Um, that's a big fight. It's a big fight, and the winner of that one has been promised, Khamzat Chimaev. And I've got Nazardini Marvov winning that fight. I've got Marvov winning that fight. I think Kalio Pohalio going to Chicago to be the backup for the Khamzat versus DDP fights was a very, very bad decision. I know he got paid to cut the weights, but then he's gonna go to Paris and have to cut weights 3 weeks later. And Nazardini Marvov is no joke. Nazardini Marvov is no joke. One of the best strikers in the division, one of the best boxers in the UFC, and then he's got a heavy ground game. I was watching him take down Cyril Gane and take down other heavyweights in his gym. So yeah, for that fight, I think Imavov gets the job done. I don't think he finishes Kalio Pohalio. I'm predicting a 5-round war between Nazardini Imavov versus Kalio Pohalio. And I think Nazardini Imavov is going to win that fight. And he's going to get the title shots against Khamzat Chimaev. Yeah, boys. Imavov versus Kalio Pohalio. Big one. Big one. It's in the middleweight division. I've got Nazardini Imavov. Nazardini Imavov is winning that fight. Kalio Pohalio, man, he went to Chicago, UFC 319. He cut weights, and then now he has to go to Paris and cut weights again. I think cutting weights twice in 1 month is very, very difficult. We saw what happened to Tony Ferguson in 2020. He cut weight for no reason. When he had that fight against Justin Gaethje, he cut weight when he did not have to. The fight got cancelled because of COVID, and then he had to cut weights again when the fight versus Justin Gaethje was announced, and then Tony Ferguson lost. So I think we're gonna see the same thing here, man. I think Kalio Pohalio going to Chicago to cut weights, and I know he got paid. Good for him, got paid, but he has to cut weights again. Not this week, but the following week on September 6th against Nazardini Marvov. I think that's a tough task for him. So I've got Imavov winning that one. I think it's a 5 round war. I've got Nazardini Marvov winning by decision. I don't see him finishing Carlio Pohalio. You know, these Brazilian guys, they're like these Mexicans, you know, they've got a tough chin. It's hard to knock them out or even finish them on the ground because I think everyone from Brazil has like Brazilian jiu-jitsu knowledge. So I've got Imavov winning that fight. You've got a comment here from Tyson asking will Drakus beat Khamzat if Drakus Duplessis takes a rematch. Listen, man, I'm gonna say this, and people are gonna say I'm biased because, again, I am South African. South African. I live in South Africa. I'm a big Drakus Duplessis fan, but I think if Drakus takes like 3 months off, or if Drakus works on his wrestling, we've got 3 more months left in 2025. He works on his wrestling. He gets a win and then he gets the rematch. I think he beats Khamzat, man. If he he just has to get up, learning how to get up in those positions. I think he has to go to like Australia and train with Alexander Volkanovski and Jake Della Maddalena and all those guys that know how to fight these Dagestani guys, or even go to, because if he goes to Dagestan and Russia, no one's gonna help him there because that's where Hamza Chimaev is from. So I think he has to go to Australia, train at City Kickboxing with Adesanya and all these guys, and yeah, I think those guys know how to beat Dagestanis. We saw what happened with the first fights against Volkanovski versus Islam Makachev. Volkanovski did not allow Makachev to take him down. And then we saw what Jack Della Maddalena did to Bilal. Soon as Bilal took him down, Jack got up straight away. And in Australia and New Zealand, they know something about these Dagestani fighters that other fighters around the world do not know. So Drakus Duplessis, please go to Australia, go train with Alexander Volkanovski. I know you've trained with him before in Thailand. Go do it again. But to answer your question, Tyson, I think if Drakus gets the rematch, yeah, man, I think he KOs Khamzat. I think he KOs Khamzat or even submits him. We saw in the fifth round, like Drakus was this close to getting that submission. He was this close to getting the submission. And go check out my reaction. Check out my reaction to Drakus almost getting the victory in round 5. It was a very, very funny reaction. I thought Drakus was gonna do it, man. I thought he was gonna do it. Like I believed in my heart. I set the belt to staying here with us in South Africa, but it didn't happen. But he was this close. He was this close. Just go and check out my reaction. And so those of you joining the chat right now, it's Zar-Kombat. Subscribe, 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 subscribe for everything MMA related, your UFC content. I'm the guy you want to subscribe. You want to subscribe to, man. But yeah, we were doing the live stream for UFC Paris. We were reviewing the entire card. We did the early prelims, did the prelims, and then we did the main card. Basically done. So if you guys have any questions on fights that are gonna be coming up, anything UFC related, and you just wanna ask, even in boxing too, there's a couple big fights going on in boxing. So if you wanna talk, I've got all the time in the world, man. I'm here to answer your questions. Tyson with the question here. Or Tyson with the comments saying appreciate the answer, but Drickus doesn't stand a chance against Khamzat. Yeah, he has no tools to beat him. Plus, Dracus's coach is not professional. That's a good point, man. That's a good point, and I'm with you on that one. Dracus has had the same. For us, I know you guys only know Dracus since he's in the UFC right now, but for us, In South Africa, we've known Dricus for a long time. I remember when he was fighting the EFC. I actually got to watch him live in Durban years ago. I think this was like in 2018. No, this was like 2015 or something. When he was very very young, and Dricus has always had the same coach forever. So I don't think he's gonna leave his team. I don't see Dricus leaving his team, and I don't think he doesn't. It's not that he doesn't have the tools to beat him, man. It's the ground game of Khamzat Chimaev. I mean, Khamzat said it himself. He said he's been training in wrestling since he was like 4 years old. So he's did this thing for forever, his entire life. And I can tell you right now, as a South African, we do not have the caliber of wrestling that Russia and Chechen and all these guys have. You don't even like you'll never see a South African in wrestling in the Olympics. So, but I don't think it's a lack of tools. It's just in the wrestling departments. I think Drakus has to find himself a wrestler if he ever gets the chance to rematch Khamzat Chimaev. He's gotta get a wrestler that's world class, that's been in the Olympics, that's gonna take him down, and so he learns how to get up. You know, because I think that's the only issue with Drakus. It's just being able to get up, man. Being able to get up when Khamzat Chimaev is on top of him, because Khamzat Chimaev been doing this wrestling thing his entire life, so he knows what you're gonna do before you think about doing it. And I think when Drakus was in camp, he didn't have that. He didn't have um, a high level wrestler. Because I can tell you right now, I know where he trains. He trains at CIT here in Pretoria in South Africa, and they don't have any high caliber wrestlers. That's for sure. I think he did a lot of wrestling. He was training with a lot of good fighters, good kickboxers, good wrestlers, but not the best wrestlers in the world. You know what I mean? I think that's what he's gonna do. If they ever do the rematch, is bring in a high caliber wrestler to really get the defense of Dracus Duplessis in wrestling correct. Got a comment here from Combat Bread. Even if Dracus fights Chimaev 3 more times, he won't win. That's your opinion, dog. That's your opinion. But that's your opinion, bro. But if you watch that fight, man, I mean, standing up, Khamzat Chimaev never had a chance. Um, in round five. And you know what's funny? And I keep saying this. I keep saying this, and people keep laughing at me. Khamzat Chimaev had 22 minutes in control. 22 minutes in control. But Dracus Duplessis, if you go read up the stats on the fights, Dracus Duplessis has more significant strikes than Khamzat Chimaev. Plus, Dracus had the only submission attempt in the fights, which was in round five when you almost submitted Khamzat Chimaev. So listen, the control of Khamzat Chimaev was elite. I'll give him that. But listen, we don't want to watch like as an MMA fan, like I don't know watch you laying on the guy the entire time. I mean, like if you're gonna wrestle, listen, if your approach is to just wrestle the guy, why not do what Marab Dolishvili does? I don't like Marab's style, but it's a fun style to watch. You know what I mean? Like it makes wrestling fun. You stand up with the guy, you take a chance on the feet, you take him down, you rain some ground and pound, and then you actually chase the submission. If you're just gonna crucifix the guy and kind of tap him on his head for 22 minutes, and the other guy has more significant strikes than you in the entire fights, and he has the only significant submission attempt in the entire fight, and you controlled the fight for 22 minutes. That's whack, man. That doesn't make any sense, bro. Like that does not make any sense. Combat Brett saying these Russian guys been training from a young age. Their wrestling is top notch. Yeah, that's what I just said, man. That's exactly what I brought up. But I don't like Hamza Chimaev's style, man. I'm not saying this because I'm South African and because I'm a Dracus Du Plessis supporter, but listen, if Hamza Chimaev did what Marab Dwelishvili does to guys, if that's what Hamza Chimaev did to Dracus Du Plessis, I would have been clapping my hands saying Hamza Chimaev is the GOAT. But all he did was lay on the guy. He laid on him for 5 rounds, man. For 5 rounds. Not even trying, like, no brutal ground and pound at all. I think he threw like two brutal elbows and then had one submission attempt for 22 minutes, man. Come on, come on. But I hope that Hamza Chimaev's next fight is exciting because if Hamza Chimaev has two back-to-back boring fights, then his stock is gonna come down. He's one of the biggest stars in the UFC, so whoever is fighting next, he has to submit that guy. He has to finish the fight to get that hype again, because he's not the scary Chimaev that we thought he was. Tyson in the chat saying Dracus was protecting his neck all the time instead of trying to get up in the last moments. Hamza did a mistake, which he admitted that gave Dracus a chance. It wasn't a mistake, man. It wasn't a mistake. Um, it wasn't a mistake, man. That last round, uh, uh Dracus just had more strength than Chimaev and he took him down. I think Hamza Chimaev just does not want to admit that he got taken down. Dracus Du Plessis, the only guy in the UFC to take down Hamza Chimaev. Chimaev does not want to admit that. I don't think it was a mistake from Chimaev. I think Dracus just took him down. And then with Dracus protecting his neck, I mean, obviously Dracus hasn't been finished in the UFC. So if you're fighting a guy, you don't want to get chucked out. You don't want to get submitted. Also, I mean, he's not gonna give him his neck saying, "Hey, Hamza Chimaev, submit me, take my neck, choke me out." If Hamza Chimaev really wanted to get the submission, he should have ragdolled DDP. Like pulled him against the fence, and then actually really went for the submission, like what he did to Kevin Holland, what he tried to do against Usman, what he did against Whitaker. That's what he should have done. What he did against what's his name, Gilbert Burns. He should have been more aggressive. But I think we just have to blame both guys, man. We've got to blame both guys for it being a boring fight. But I blame Mochimaev for not making it a bit more exciting. I mean, he could have thrown elbows when he had the top control. He should have thrown more elbows, cut DDP, or do something with the position. And a lot of guys were mad that Mark Garnard let them up in the fifth round. I think Mark Garnett should have done that more times throughout the fight. But I guess we're gonna have to wait and see if the rematch gets done. But yeah, guys, make sure to subscribe. Subscribe for MMA content, UFC content. Just subscribe, man. Subscribe. We were doing the UFC Paris review. I did the entire card, early prelims, and the main card. And then once I'm done with the comments, I will be giving you, I will tell you again my predictions for the entire UFC Paris card. No UFC this week. I don't know what I'm gonna do on Saturday. No UFC, but we're gonna have to wait for UFC Paris the following week. Tyson saying Chimaev made him look silly and made him look like an amateur. Yeah, he did, man. He did. He made him look like an amateur in the ground game, especially since Du Plessis' coach was saying that Khamzat Chimaev only has wrestling. If you think you're gonna beat my guy coming in with just one style, and that's wrestling, you're not gonna win. And then he won wrestling DDP the entire time. Conor McGregor in the chat saying, I hope Gerard Jackson gets at least 20 years in jail. Yeah, that was crazy, man. I saw the video. That was insane. Like, I don't know what happened. At first I thought it was like a joke or something. And then I saw him pick him up and throw him on the ground, knocked the guy out, and then I still thought, because it was professional wrestling. I thought it was like WWE. That was like fake or something. And then once he started landing the ground and pound, like really, boop, 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 punching the guy, I was like, man, this is real. I mean, this guy's about to go to jail. Um, I don't know, man. It's all on the other guy whether he chooses to press charges or not. I think I saw another video where uh, Rampage's son was saying that the guy was provoking him and he was pushing him around or something. I don't know. But listen, if you're gonna fight a guy, and if you know how to fight, make sure you're not streaming live. Make sure there's no cameras around you, and especially if you come from like a rich family and your parents are well known and you're about to fight a guy, make sure there's no cameras around. I don't know why he did that in front of the whole crowd. Just went in the ring and picked the guy up, bop, threw him on the floor, ground and pound. I think he almost killed the guy. That was crazy. Who knows? He might actually go to jail though. He might go to jail. That was insane. But if he does go to jail, I think Rampage has enough money to pay his bail. I mean, Rampage is like a millionaire, so you know, I think that's part of the reason why he didn't care that there were cameras around, and why he actually did that on stream is because he knows if he actually hurts the guy, and he goes to jail, Daddy's gonna bail him out. Rampage has a lot of money, so he's gonna bail him out of jail if the guy presses charges and he goes to jail. But yeah, boys, we were doing the UFC Paris review. Kind of done with the predictions and who I think is gonna win, but I'll just skim through the entire card. I'm gonna start from the main card all the way to the early prelims. So with Imavov versus Kalyo Pohalyo, I've got Imavov winning that fight. I think Imavov. Um, yeah, I think Imavov just has the advantage, man. Kalyo Pohalyo cut weights last week at UFC 319, and then he's gonna have to fly to Paris and cut weights again. I think that's a disadvantage for him. So I think Imavov wins that fight, and then it's the big one. It's the big one: Benoit Saint-Denis versus Mauricio Rufy. I think Mauricio Rufy is gonna KO him. I think Mauricio Rufy is gonna KO Benoit Saint-Denis in front of his people, and he's gonna silence the crowd. And then we move on to Patricio Pitbull fighting the debuting Kaita. For that one, I think Kaita gets the W. I've seen his highlights on Instagram and on YouTube. He looks like a solid fighter. Patricio Pitbull, he's like 36 years old now. He's a bit slower than Kaita, and I've got Kaita winning his UFC debut. And then we move on to my prediction for Fight of the Nights at Paris in 2 weeks. Okai versus Mason Jones. Mason Jones, one of my favorite fighters in the UFC. I mean, it's Carlos Prates, it's Mason Jones, and it's Dracus Duplessis. So I've got Mason Jones winning that one. I think it's gonna be a 2-round war, and Mason Jones gets the KO. And then we've got the veteran at light heavyweights, Paul Craig versus Bukayuskes. I've got Paul Craig winning that one by submission. Um, and then the first fight in the main card, ZM versus Fernandez at lightweights. ZM, if you remember, he knocked out Matt Favola at UFC Paris last time out. He's back against Fernandez. I think it's an easy win for ZM. I think it's an early round one KO. I think the UFC are building a star in Paris. ZM obviously is from Paris. He fights out of Paris, so the UFC are building a guy that's gonna be main eventer and you at whenever they come to Paris. So I think ZM gets the fight, gets the job done. And then we move on to the prelims. The headliner for the prelims, Sai versus Rubirio. It's a nice one. It's light heavyweights. For that one, I've got Rubirio winning that fight. Rubirio, one of the best jiu-jitsu guys at light heavyweights. I think he wins that one by submission easily. Takes down Sai, gets the submission, and defeats Sai in front of his people. And then it's a nice one at heavyweights. Sapuria fighting the debuting Deligia. Don't know why Sapuria is fighting a debuting guy when he's on a 3 fight win streak. Maybe he was having a hard time getting fights. But I think Sapuria gets that Taipuria gets the job done. I think he gets the submission. Maybe in round three, we're gonna have to see. And then Gustafsson versus Frekridinov at welterweight. Frekridinov wins that one easily. I think he's gonna wrestle Gustafsson, and then definitely gets a submission on the ground. Gomez versus Ruchala, nice one at featherweight. I think Gomez wins in front of his people and gets the crowd happy. And then the early prelims, we've got Patterson versus Waters. Another banger fight at welterweight. Patterson always puts on wars. Has been in the UFC for a while. A real veteran at welterweight. I think he gets that one done. I think he puts on a striking clinic. He's one of the best counter strikers at welterweight. I think he gets the job done and wins the fight. Brett Tavares versus Prejeskek. Hope I'm pronouncing that name right. A banger fight at middleweights. Brett Tavares been in the UFC forever. Um, a veteran, a real veteran at middleweight. Been in the UFC for a very long time. Faced everyone at middleweights. Yoel Romero, Prime Adesanya, Prime Dracus Duplessis, Chris Weidman. Been in there with all of them. And then the first fight of the night, Shannon Bannon versus Hughes. That's a nice one to start the fight. Shannon Bannon, obviously a superstar in Europe, fighting out of Ireland at SBG, where Conor McGregor fights at Conor McGregor's gym. That's a good fight at strawweight, but I've got Hughes winning that fight by submission. She's a Olympic wrestler. Been in the strawweight division forever, and I think she takes down Bannon and gets the submission. Yeah, man. UFC Paris going down in 2 weeks. If you're new in the chats, that's what we're live streaming now. That's what we're doing. We're doing the reaction to the UFC Paris card. No UFC, unfortunately, next week. September 6th is UFC Paris. I will be live for that one. So make sure to be around for when we live stream UFC Paris. But that is my predictions for the fights. It's a big one. Imavov, Bohalio. It's going down in 2 weeks. UFC Paris, and make sure to subscribe for any MMA content, UFC content. Make sure to subscribe, man. UFC Paris, done with the predictions. I'm here, man. I'm here, guys. If you've got anything you want to tell me, what you think about the UFC Paris card, tell me below. There's a lot of cards going on. There's a lot of fights that are going to be going on in September, October. It's a good 2 months to be a UFC fan. So you want to ask any questions on UFC, and you wanna you wanna ask me anything on fights that are gonna be coming up, just make sure to comment below, man. Do not be scared. Do not be shy. I'm here to answer all of your comments. Any and all UFC questions, I'm here to answer them, guys. And again, make sure to subscribe. And support the boy, man. Let's get my subscribers up. I've got my boy Khabib. Whenever I'm live, he always makes sure to drop a comment and a like. My man, I really appreciate you, bro. We're saying I wish you and I could train. Me too. That's my brother from Algeria. Like I hope we get to train, man. I hope we get to train. When I make it big on YouTube, I'm gonna find you, bro. I'm gonna find you, and I'm gonna make sure we link and we train. And I'm always grateful for your support, boy. You've got a comment here from I'm not sure how to pronounce your name, man. Constantinos. Constantinos. Hope I'm pronouncing your name right. Is saying, yo, F with your channel, dog. Thank you, Constantines. Thank you, dog. I always appreciate these comments, man. Thank you, bro. Thank you, bro. Thank you, man. Got another comment from Nui Tilal. Surab, a comment from Surab. After JDM versus Islam, believe me, it's gonna be Islam versus Taporia. Abtoro versus Islam Makachev. The biggest fight that we all want to see. That's a big fight. That's a massive fight. Unfortunately, I don't think that not that I don't think, but I don't want Makachev to beat Jack Della Maddalena. And I know I'm gonna get a lot of hate. Like I want to see Islam Makachev versus Tuporia as well, but I was hoping that fight would go down. It's lightweights, but yeah, man. I mean, the ground game of Jack Della Maddalena looked incredible against Bilal. You know, Bilal is trained with these Dagestani guys. His wrestling approach is very similar to your Khabib and your Islam Makachev, and you know, Jack was able to stuff the takedowns of Bilal, and that makes me believe that Islam Makachev is gonna have a hard time against Jack Della Maddalena. But listen, if Makachev gets the job done and he gets the welterweight belt, and then Ilya Topuria, whoever he fights next, he KOs them, and then he moves up, and then we get Islam Makachev as the welterweight champion of the world. We get Ilya Topuria, the lightweight champion of the world, the pound for pound number two, Islam Makachev, the pound for pound number one, Ilya Topuria. That's a massive fight. That's a massive fight for the welterweight belts, for the pound for pound number one title. If that fight happens next year, that's one of the biggest fights in UFC ever, man. That's one of the biggest fights ever. Hopefully, the stars align and we get that fight. We've got uh, sorry, Constantinos saying, I like Islam, but I would love to see Ilya winning. Yeah. Ilya Taporia, man, he's uh who do I have winning against Islam versus Taporia? Man, if that fight happens, I think um I think Islam Makachev wins, man. I think Islam Makachev wins. And I'm only saying this because in the UFC, I don't remember seeing Ilya Taporia on the ground. I don't remember Ilya Taporia getting matched up against a good wrestler. So we don't know what Ilya Taporia's ground game looks like. I think he's got a black belt in jiu-jitsu, but you know, Dustin Poirier also has a black belt in jiu-jitsu, and we saw what Makachev did to him. Dustin Poirier is one of the best boxers in the UFC, and we saw what Makachev did against him. He was able to stand with him, and then Dustin Poirier, one of the heaviest hands in the UFC, and Makachev was able to stand with him. So based on that fight, I think Makachev can stand with Ilya Taporia. I think he's gonna trick Taporia into thinking that they're gonna strike, and then as Ilya Taporia is thinking it's a striking game, I think Islam goes for the double leg, takes him down, controls him on the ground, and I think he gets a submission. I think Makachev would win if he were to fight Ilya Taporia. Ilya has good ground game, bro. He started off wrestling and doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu before boxing. Yeah. I saw somewhere. I was watching his previous fights, like his fights outside of the UFC, like his fights at Cage Warriors. He was getting um a lot of wins by submission. He wasn't knocking guys out like he's doing in the UFC. He was straight up taking guys down and submitting them. And then he got into the UFC, and for some reason he started KOing, knocking out all of our fan favorites. Um, but to be honest with you, man, I'm gonna be honest. I want to see Islam Makhachev win because Ilia Topuria knocked out Charles Oliveira. I'm never gonna forgive Ilia Topuria for knocking out Charles Oliveira, man. Charles Oliveira is one of my favorite fighters ever. That 2021 Charles Oliveira, that Du Bronx title run was one of the best things that I've ever seen in MMA. You know, getting the belts, KOing Michael Chandler, and then um, submitting Dustin Poirier after a 3 round war, and then knocking out Justin Gaethje in 1 round, knocking him down and then submitting him. That was insane. So I really want to see Makachev win because Ilya knocked out my favorite fighter ever. Uh, watch his first few fights in the UFC, Ilya Topuria. Yeah, I remember watching him debut because when he was coming up in the UFC, he was coming up with Dracus du Plessis. I've been watching Dracus's fights, all of his fights in the UFC. I remember watching them live when they were like in 2020, and they were fighting at in Abu Dhabi at UFC Island. And most of the fights that Dracus du Plessis, the fight cards that he was on, Ilya Topuria was also on those cards. So I remember he had a couple submissions. He was taking guys down, and then out of nowhere, he started knocking all these guys out. But I'll never forgive him for knocking out my glorious king, Charles Du Bronx Oliveira, and I hope Makachev wins. I hope Makachev wins. But even besides that, I think Makachev is just the better fighter, man. I think he's the better fighter all round. And I think um, Makachev is just the best fighter in the world right now, in my opinion. I know um, Topuria is the pound for pound number one right now, but I think Makachev is just too much for Topuria. Hopefully it's a fun fight, and it's not like what Khamzat and DDP did. Remember the hype for Dracos du Plessis versus Khamzat Chimaev? I was thinking it was gonna be such an insane fight. It's gonna be a war. It's gonna be a bloody fight, and then they go in there and Khamzat Chimaev hugs Dracos du Plessis the entire 5 rounds. That was insane. So it's hard to get excited for fights now, but definitely if it happens, Islam Makhachev versus Ilya Topuria, it's gonna deliver. It's gonna deliver. Someone is getting knocked out, or someone is getting submitted. I know it's not. It's definitely not going the distance. Ilya Topuria versus Islam Makhachev, it's not gonna go the distance. With the welterweight belts on the line and the pound for pound number one on the line, it's definitely gonna end in a finish. Islam had difficulties with Dustin Poirier though. Ilya is way better than Dustin. Yeah, I agree. I agree that Ilya Topuria is definitely better than Dustin Poirier, especially on the feet. But we've got to remember, man, Poirier was like what? I think it was like 34 when he faced Islam Makhachev. So I think age was also a factor in that. And I think Makachev will approach that fight respecting the stand up of Ilya Topuria and the hands of Ilya Topuria, man. The hands of Ilya Topuria are kind of like my knuckles. Look at my knuckles, like KO power. So I think he can stand with Ilya Topuria, but he's not gonna risk getting knocked out or getting caught, because Dustin Poirier caught Makachev a lot in that fight. And also, I think you've got to remember, man, those golden gloves. Remember those gold gloves they were using in that fight? I think that fights had way more padding inside the glove than the regular black gloves that they use. So who knows if maybe Dustin Poirier and Makachev, when they were fighting, they had the black gloves on. Maybe Dustin could have KO'd Islam Makachev because he landed some bombs on Islam. He landed some bombs, but Yeah, when this fight happens, Islam versus Tuporia, if it happens, Makachev is not going to stand a lot on the feet with Tuporia. Definitely, I think he respects Ilya Tuporia when it comes to striking because Tuporia has some heavy hands. Um, yeah, man, a lot of big fights to be excited for in the UFC. But for me, again, I'm gonna say this again, man. Charles Oliveira being my favorite fighter. He's coming back. October 11th, he's fighting for Zeev. I don't know how to feel about that fight, man. I mean, it's 3 months after he got knocked out. Um, he's fighting for Zeev. For Zeev, one of the fastest guys at lightweights. And I've been hearing rumors that maybe Charles Oliveira is gonna retire if he wins. You know, he's fighting in front of his people. Um, he hasn't fought in Brazil in like 5 years. The last time he fought in Brazil was against Kevin Lee. Yeah, Kevin Lee at the beginning of COVID. So I don't know, man. But I also saw something on Instagram. Every fighter, every fighter that got knocked out by Ilya Taporia won their next fight. Uh, you know, Volkanovski won his fight against Diego Lopez. Max Holloway won his fights against Dustin Poirier. So hopefully, my glorious king, Charles Du Bronx Oliveira, gets the W and he does not retire. Because Charles cannot retire before we see him fight Max Holloway for the BMF belt. Cannot he listen, that fight, I was hoping that's the fight they were gonna do. I thought maybe they were gonna do that fight for UFC 322 at MSG, the co-main event, but I saw that Max Holloway's left arm is still hurt, so he can only fight early next year. So if not even if when Charles Oliveira beats Rafael Faziev, I hope he calls out Max Holloway for the BMF belt because that's the only belt that Charles Oliveira can win. He's not getting the lightweight championship back. Even though we had a good few moments. I mean, he threw that elbow at Ilya, kind of hurts Ilya, but I don't know, man. I wanna see Holloway versus Charles Oliveira. If Charles Oliveira wins his fight against Rafael Fiziev, that's the fight I wanna see. Constant Charles already denied he won't retire anytime soon. Yeah, well that's nice. I didn't see that. I didn't see that. So that's good to hear, man. I mean, but Charles is like 36 years old now. I don't want to see him fight a lot anymore. Hopefully, if he wins this fight, he calls out Max Holloway, and Max Holloway is his last fight. He wins the BMF belt, and then he goes off into the sunset as a UFC legend. One of the best guys to ever grace the octagon. But hopefully, we get to see Charles Du Bronx Oliveira versus Max Holloway one more time before both guys retire. Yeah, I like him too, but in my opinion, he won't beat Max Holloway. Yeah, that's a tough fight. That is a tough fight. Max Holloway at lightweights is a beast, bro. He's a beast. Um, he listen, Max just looks like an absolute monster at lightweights. But you've got to remember that last fight against Max against Poirier. I can really it didn't really impress me much because Poirier looked way slower than he does, and yeah, Poirier was just looking slower, and Max coming up from featherweights to lightweights. Obviously, he's gonna gain more muscle. He's the younger guy. We've got to remember, guys. Holloway He's been in the UFC forever, but he's only 33 years. No, not even 33. I think he's like 32 years old. So he's still in his prime. And Poirier is like 35, so he's out of his prime, and he's been in wars. I wasn't really impressed by that fight, but I think if the fight between Max Holloway and Charles Oliveira happens, I think it's going to be way more competitive than Max Holloway versus Dustin Poirier. Um, but man, I feel like I believe in Charles Oliveira, man. Like I believe in Charles. I think I think he can get the job done. I think he can do what he did to Dustin Poirier back in 2021, where it's like a high paced fight. They come out in round one and they strike. Charles gets hurt. He gets back up, and then round two, Charles just takes it to the ground, and then tries to lock in a submission somehow. Because I love Max Holloway, man. I like Max Holloway. He's one of my favorite fighters ever. But whoever Charles Oliveira fights, I'm always gonna go with Charles Oliveira. Even if I'm South African, right? I'm South African. Even if and this would never happen, but even if Charles Oliveira were to fight Dricus Du Plessis being um, South African, me also being South African, even if Charles Oliveira was fighting Dricus Du Plessis for the belt, I would support Charles Oliveira. I'd support Charles, man. Charles is the guy that like got me into the UFC, and what he did in 2021 can never be undone. So whenever Charles is fighting, I'm always gonna support him, whoever he fights. I don't care who is fighting. I'm always gonna go for Charles Oliveira. That's a legend, man. That's we talk about legends in the UFC. We talk about guys like Anderson Silva, um your all these your Chuck Liddells. Man, Charles Oliveira, 15 years in the UFC. 15 years in the UFC and he's still at the top. That's a legend right there. Faced everyone. Literally everyone. Never ducked the fights. That's a legend, man. That's a real legend. And he wasn't even supposed to be able to fight. So I think I saw a documentary on like YouTube or something. I'm not sure, and on how he had a problem when he was a kid and he wasn't supposed to fight. So I like those kind of stories, man. When you're like in life, it's kind of like you've got everything going against you, and then somehow, some way through discipline and hard work and being consistent, you find a way to just you know provide for your family and get rich and just you know be the man you want to be. So Charles, for sure, I'm always going to support him. Would you say, who would you say are the top three goats though? um I don't know, do you mean like right now, the goats right now, or of all time or right now? But of all time, man, that's a hard one. I think um again, guys, I only started watching the UFC in 2019. Of all time, okay. I only started watching the UFC in 2019. So I'm gonna leave out the guys that I never got to watch a lot. Like your GSPs, John Jones' early career. Like I wanna leave all those guys behind because they're not on my GOAT list. And not because they're not the greatest of all time, but because like their era is so different to what the UFC is now. You've got guys like Anderson Silva who came into the UFC. He won one fight, and then he got the title shots, and then he went on like a 15 fight win streak or whatever it was. So I'm gonna leave all those guys out, um, because I wasn't there. I didn't witness their greatness in their prime. But my all-time top three, And third, I'm gonna have to go Kamaru Usman, man. Kamaru Usman, the run he went on, um, literally terrifying the welterweight division. Everyone was ducking Kamaru Usman when he was coming up, and then even when he was the champion, they were still ducking him. So I've got Usman at number three, and then at number two, I've got Makachev, man. Islam Makachev. I've got him at number two. In my opinion, the pound for pound number one right now is him. Um, he's the pound for pound number one for me. Um, he's like on a 27, I don't know, like a 25 fight win streak or something like that. I don't know. But one of the baddest motherfuckers in the game is Makachev. Fights anyone, signs the contract. Um, when he was coming up at lightweights, no one wanted to fight Makachev. Everyone was ducking him. And then, even with the same thing with him, again, he became the champion and people were still ducking him. Not Usman, Aman Sarukian literally had to pull out. He had to pull out because I know I know they said he had a problem with his weight cuts or something, but I don't believe that, man. I think he was scared. I think he was scared. I think he didn't believe that he could beat Islam Makachev. And then at number one, it's a hard one, but my greatest of all time right now is damn, man. I've got to go with this is a hard one. At number one for me of all time, bro. I've got to say, this is a hard one. I've never really thought about my goats in MMA, but okay, number three, I've got Usman. Number two, I've got Islam Makachev. And then at number one, it would have to be Charles Oliveira, man. Charles Oliveira's my GOAT. Charles Oliveira's my GOAT. The most bonuses in UFC history, the most submissions in UFC history, the most wins at lightweights, tied for the most wins at featherweights. Um, that's my goat, man. That's my greatest of all time. And I know he got beat a whole lot of times. He's been beaten by Makachev, by Taporia, and all these other guys. But I don't know, man. The resume of Charles Oliveira is so insane. Like it's literally insane. Most submissions of all time in UFC. The most performances of the night bonus. No, no, no. The most bonuses in UFC. Um, Faced everyone, got the belts. Um, and I'm not just saying this as the goats is in like he's the greatest. No one can defeat him. It's just like me personally, like me personally, like for everyone watching this, me saying Charles Oliveira, you would understand why I'm saying Charles Oliveira if you were there in 2021 when he won the belts and he went on that streak he went on. That two Bronx Oliveira title run, the best in UFC history. Charlie's two Bronx title run and the title defenses he went on was the best in my opinion in UFC history. No one's gonna beat that. When you put on the blonde hair and then he got famous for getting knocked down and everyone was saying and then the memes, like the memes that came up when Charles had the belts. I always saw this meme when it was Charles Fight Week, and it was Charles on the floor saying, "Okay, now I've got you where I want him. I've got my position. I've got my opponent where I want him. I'm on the ground. I've got him where I want him." We always knew when Charles got knocked down, he already won the fight. So that was a fun time to be a UFC fan. And then yeah, that was a fun time. It's kind of like the title run that Drakus went on. Like the Drakus, like the memes that came out of the Drakus Duplessis title run. Drakus Duplessis by falling piano, Drakus Duplessis by drawing a hole on the cage, Drakus Duplessis by losing, and a second Drakus Duplessis coming into the cage and he wins. It was fun, man. It was a fun time. Like the Drakus Duplessis title run was so insane. And then obviously with him in the press conference and making Easy and Strickland cry, it was a fun time. I think it's gonna happen again. Maybe not from Hamza Chimaev, but I don't think Chimaev is gonna be in the UFC by 2027. So I think Chimaev retires next year. I think he retires next year. And if DDP doesn't get the belt from him, he's gonna get the belt from someone else. Is DDP well loved over there in South Africa? It's kind of crazy, man. I mean, he's really a controversial guy. Um, he's not well on TikTok. He's one of the most hated guys in the UFC. Um, for listen, it's kind of 50-50 because I don't know, like he had a few comments on something that was really like on a deep topic that was going on here in South Africa. There were rumors going on that black people are killing white farmers here in South Africa, and it wasn't going on. And then Trump was supporting that, and Elon Musk was supporting that, and then DDP was saying he's a Trump supporter, and then South Africans were like, how are you supporting the guy that's lying about our country? You know what I mean? And then people were kind of not supporting him, but he does have a massive fan base. For me, I don't really care about the politics, to be honest with you. It means nothing. I got a lot of hate also for supporting Drakus Duplessis. If you go and watch my reaction to Drakus winning over, I had a video that went viral when Drakus beats Adesanya. You should go check out that video. Go check out the video on my channel. It's got like 26,000 views. So that video went viral in South Africa, and then on the comments, like the people were hating me. Like people that look like me were hating me. They're like, "Yo, like, why are you supporting a racist? And why are you happy that he beats Adesanya?" Plus, Adesanya is a big name here in South Africa. Because he's big in Africa, you know. So when that fight happened, I was supporting Drakus, you know, because I support the guy that's carrying our flag. You know what I mean? And like when it comes to the politics, and I don't really believe in all of that stuff. I just believe in hard work. I believe in the best man wins. I believe the guy that wants to win more is gonna win. And as much as DDP is a controversial guy, but he's the guy that's carrying our flag, and he's showing South Africans that if you work hard and you really believe in yourself, and you wanna carry your flag, and you wanna show people from your country that you can go to America and make it big. That's why I was supporting the guy. So I'm a fan of DDP. I'm a fan of DDP. I don't really care about the politics at all. If Drakus supports Trump or whatever, that's got nothing to do with me. He's carrying our flag, and I'm a massive fan of his. Not a big fan of him personally, but I do respect his fighting spirit. This guy's a monster. Yeah. DDP is a monster, man. I mean, he's got one of the best fight styles in the UFC. That you cannot argue. I mean, he's always in the fun fights. Besides the Khamzat fight, obviously, but every other fight, it's always fun. He's got one of the craziest styles in the UFC. Like, I still don't understand his fighting style. It's insane. It's insane. There's nothing technical about that guy, but somehow he gets the win, and that's why I enjoy watching his fights. Is because, like, with guys like Chimaev, you know how they're gonna win. You know, guys like Adesanya, you know how they're gonna win. Guys like Ilya Topuria, you know how Ilya Topuria is gonna win. You know how Islam Makhachev is gonna win. But with Drakus Duplessis, you never know. You never know how Drakus is gonna win. Is he gonna strike? Is he gonna be a technical striker? Is he gonna pull off a crazy KO? Like that's those are the type of fighters that I like watching. Guys like Charles Oliveira. You know, you never know with Charles Oliveira. Is he gonna get the submission? Is he gonna get a crazy KO? Is it gonna be a boring fight? Is it gonna be an exciting fight? I like those fighters, you know. You never really know what's gonna happen. Like I like that feeling, you know. But it's fight day and you don't know what's gonna happen in the fights. Those are the type of guys that I like watch fighting. So yeah man. It's a big 2 months for the UFC. It's a big 2 months for the UFC. Um, UFC 320, that's a big one. Ankalaev and Pereira, they're gonna do it again. Also got Marab. Marab Dolishvili, what a guy, what a champion. I think that's his like Marab, that's his I think it's his third fight this year. Yeah, he faced Uma at 311 in January. He faced O'Malley in June. And now he's fighting Corey Sanhagen. O'Malley, Marab, man, what a champion. Like when he won the belts last year against Sean, like I thought he was gonna be a boring champion, and then that fight against Nurmagomedov showed me that yeah, man, like Marab is that guy. He is that guy, and no one's beating him for a very long time. I think Marab is gonna hold the belts until he retires, kind of like Alexandre Pantoja at flyweight. I don't think anyone beats Pantoja at flyweight. The only the only guy that may have a chance is Joshua Van. But even him though, like I don't think he gets it done. I think Pantoja gets the belt until he retires. But yeah, 320, that's a big fight card. And 321, Espinal versus Cyril Gahn. I'm not really excited about that. Excuse me. I'm not really excited about that fight. I hope Tom Espinal wins because if somehow Cyril Gahn beats Tom Espinal, imagine what John Jones is gonna do on Twitter. Oh, I told you guys it was better than Tom Espinal. Look, the guy that I beat in 1 minute beats the guy that you thought was gonna beat me. So I hope that Tom Espinal beats Cyril Gahn. Um, not sure what's the co-main event for UFC 321. I think it's I don't know. What do you think about Ankalaev versus Pereira too? I think that's a good question, bro. That is a great question. Ankalaev versus Pereira too. That's a massive fight. Listen, I love Pereira, man. Like we all love Pereira, you know, the Shama man. We love Pereira, but I think Pereira is losing his focus on MMA. I was on his Instagram a couple hours ago, and he's shooting a movie. He's shooting a movie. Um, you know, he's not. He doesn't look like he's in the gym. And he did the same thing back at UFC 13. You know, he was doing seminars around the world, and he was going to concerts for Drake concerts and all these other things instead of training. So I think Ankalaev might get the victory because Pereira doesn't seem focused on MMA as much as he is, as much as he was. You know, I think he's looking at life post MMA now. I low key think he's gonna retire. Might happen, bro. Might happen. I mean, Pereira's not a, Bolton is not a young man. He's pushing 40. He's pushing 40. He's 38 years old. And you've got to remember, guys, I mean, training MMA, it takes a lot. Like, it takes a lot. Like, I train for kickboxing, and that kills me whenever I'm in the gym. So these guys that train for MMA and they train at a high level, it takes a lot. And so, you know, Pereira has got all the money in the world now. I think he's made like last year he definitely made 10 million from the UFC. He had three fights last year. definitely made 10 million, and then now he's becoming an actor. So low key, who knows? I think Pereira might retire, but I want to see him get the belt back. I want to see him get the belt back, and then I want Dominic Reyes to beat Carlos Goldberg, and then I want to see Pereira versus Dominic Reyes. But if that fight happens, that's gonna be a hard one for me to because I'm such a big fan of Dominic Reyes. Like the comeback is legendary. The Dominic Reyes comeback has been legendary. So if he were to fight for the belt next, that'd be awesome, man. That'd be awesome. Crazy. Like 2025 is the year of the comeback. Even Johnny Walker too. Yesterday, that was crazy. Johnny Walker really got the Johnny Walker won in 2025. That was insane for me. Like I was thinking definitely he's gonna lose to the Chinese guy in round one. And then he comes out, takes him down like he's Hamza Chimaev, and then just spamming leg kicks. Guy falls down and then ground and pound. Got the W. A Johnny Walker W in 2025. That's crazy. That was insane to watch yesterday. And even watching the UFC early, like the UFC was playing at 1 p.m. yesterday, so it's cool to watch the UFC early because normally for us in Africa, for us here in South Africa, we normally watch the UFC on Sundays. So it was cool to watch the UFC on Saturday. Pereira would be a tough fight. It'd be an awesome fight, man. It would be an awesome fight. Both guys have heavy hands, you know. So it'd be a tough fight, but it would be hard to support either guy. Like it'd be a tough fight to watch for us MMA fans because I know for me I'm a fan of both guys. So if they fought, like I don't know who I'd be cheering for. Like if they fought, like I literally don't know. Because I want to see Dominic Reyes finally get the belts, but also I don't want to see Pereira lose the belts again. But first, Pereira has to get through Ankalaev, and that's a hard challenge. That's a hard challenge for Bolton. Chimaya from Timu. Yeah, that was crazy, man. He even trimmed his mustache on fight nights. I was watching a video of him on his Instagram. He took off his mustache on fight nights to look like he's from Dagestan. Like Johnny Walker's a crazy guy, man. Johnny Walker's one of the craziest guys in the UFC. I watched him walk out and I was like, this guy looks like he's from Dagestan. And then he comes out round one. He comes out in round one. The judge says, no. They touch gloves. They go to the corner. And then he's coming out. He does the Chimaev style, like fakes the glove touch. Boom! Spams the takedown. That was crazy to watch. Like I was laughing so hard. And then he failed the takedown. He tries to pull a Chimaev and he fails. And then you've got Ming Yang on top of him spamming hammer fist on his head. And he's struggling. And I'm like, what is this guy doing? I'm like, man, he's definitely gonna lose this fight. And then somehow he wins in round two. Crazy. And then another crazy thing is, I was on Instagram and I saw a funny fact. There's been 11 main events. There's been 11 fights in the UFC thus far, or this year, that have been main evented by Brazilian fighters. And out of the 11 main events, main evented by Brazilian fighters, Johnny Walker's the only guy that won. So guys like Oliveira lost in their main events, Pereira lost in their main events. Who else? Carlos Prates lost in their main events. All these other guys from Brazil, top fighters in the divisions, lost. But Johnny Walker came to save Brazil. Crazy. Who would have thought, man? Johnny Walker's really the Brazilian savior. Crazy, man. That was so funny. Like watching it yesterday live, it's one of the funniest things I've ever seen, man. Pereira, Johnny Walker's a crazy guy. Like he's a crazy guy. But it was cool to see him get the W, man. I mean, you never want to see these guys that are entertaining lose all the time. You know, Johnny Walker, as much as he has his up and downs in the UFC, but He's never in a boring fight. He always makes sure to give us a fun fight. So it was cool to see him win. Kind of felt sad for Zhang Mingyang. He lost in front of his friends and family and his people. Everyone came out to see him fight. China came out to see him fight and he lost. But it's MMA, man. The best man on fight night always wins. So seeing Johnny Walker back on the win column was kind of cool. That was dope to see. And then no UFC this weekend. Crazy. Like I don't know what to do on Saturdays when there's no UFC. Like I don't really have plans for Saturdays when there's no UFC. So like whenever I get called to yo, like we should go out or got this thing going on, I'm like, nah man, I'm cool. Like I'm every Saturday I'm always live streaming and I'm always just so I don't know what I'm gonna do this weekend. There's no UFC. I don't even know if there's fights for boxing. There might be a boxing match going on. But I'm not sure. But I know the PFL are coming back this weekend. I think the PFL there's a big fight card for PFL. And then here in South Africa, we've got our own MMA organization. It's called the EFC, and there's a big fight on Thursday for the EFC. I think it's the middleweight title is on the line, so I can't watch to watch can't wait to watch that one. But not much going on, man. Not much going on. It's kind of crazy when there's no UFCs on Saturdays, man. Really don't know what to do with my time. Well, not that I don't know what to do with my time, but it's like on Saturdays, it's like I always know like I'm live streaming and I'm trying to get my subscribers up and you know really need to start making money off of YouTube. So I'm always on just focused on MMA on Saturdays. I've got to say, man, listen, thank you for being on live with me for so long. Um, I know you said you're a supporter of my channel, man. I appreciate you, man. Like you've been commenting this entire time. I think you're literally the only guy that's on this live right now. So I thank you for the support, man. I don't think you told me where you from. Where you from, bro? Where you from? Ba, ba. Crazy, you're in London. Wow. What time is it in London? What time is it in London? It's 7:30 p.m. right now in South Africa. Oh, you're from Russia also. Oh wow, it's 6:30. Wow, so London and South Africa are an hour apart. Yeah, it's 7:33 p.m. for us here. So I didn't even know that. I guess that's the reason why, whenever we have UFC London, whenever there's a UFC card in London, I always get to watch the fights like like normal American guys. Like how for us, whenever the UFC is live in America, we have to wake up on Sunday and watch the UFC at like 2 a.m. And so whenever it's in London, I can watch the UFC on Saturdays at 10 p.m. and it's cool. You Oh, that's crazy. You actually went there. Wow. Lucky you, man. That's crazy. Like that's like I wanted to go to PFL Cape Town, but Cape Town is too far. And then I tried going to PFL Johannesburg because Johannesburg is 6 hours away from where I live. But I didn't have enough money. I didn't have enough money, so I couldn't go. And so I'm hoping whoever comes next to South Africa, whether it's UFC Africa, UFC South Africa, or PFL South Africa, if they come again, I hope to go, man. I want to watch a big MMA sports event live. Like I've been to The regional MMA scenes. Like I always watch the regional MMA scenes. Your EFCs. There's also another one called MFC here. So it's cool. It was a great experience. That's nice, man. That's nice. How was the crowd? How was the crowd watching Leon Edwards lose? Because that was insane. The boos for Sean Brady after he choked him out. It wasn't even boos. Like the entire crowd just went silence. Like I was laughing, man. How was it experiencing that live? Watching they were disappointed. I can only imagine, man. I can only imagine. I think there was also the same card where what's her name? Molly McCann retired. Was it the same card? Yeah, I think it was. I remember watching that fight. Um, Brady deserved to win. Yeah, Brady definitely deserved to win, man. Brady deserved to win, and I hope he gets a big fight. I hope he gets a big fight next. I hope it's like a Shafkat or Kamaru Usman, but all these guys at welterweights are ducking. They're ducking Brady, and I understand why. Brady, like he's got one of the best jiu-jitsu in the game. His grappling is the best in the division by far. He's got the best grappling in the game. And I heard that the UFC wanted to make Sean Brady versus Ian Gary for UFC Vancouver, and then not Brady, but Ian Gary, he didn't sign the contract. He's always saying that Leon Edwards is a coward. Shafkat doesn't want to sign the contracts. Kamaru Usman doesn't want to sign the contracts. But when he gets the fight and it's time for him to sign the contracts, he's quiet. That was insane. But I heard that the UFC are trying to make Sean Brady versus Shafkat for UFC Qatar. So you're right. I think he might fight Shafkat. And Rakhmonov, man, Shavkat Rakhmonov hasn't been in the UFC for a while. It's crazy. I think the last time we saw Shavkat, what is that? Was it? I think it was at UFC last year in December when he faced Sean. No, not Sean, but Ian Gary. Yeah, I think it was. That's insane, man. I can't believe he's been out for a long time. I know he was hurt, but that's crazy. Because he said that when he comes back, he wants to fight for a title. And how is he gonna fight for a title when there's guys like Sean Brady that actually deserve a title shot, or Carlos Prates is also coming up. And to be honest with you, I even think that Kamaru Usman deserves the title shot more than Shafkat. You know, welterweight division is packed. Yeah, it's packed, but these guys they don't want to fight each other. It's kind of like the it's kind of like the lightweight division right now, where like all these guys in the top 10, they're just running away from each other and they don't want to fight each other. That's the same thing that's going on at welterweight. But yeah, welterweight is a stacked division. That's a stacked division. Like welterweight, lightweight, featherweight, bantamweight. Those four divisions: bantamweight, featherweight, lightweight, welterweight. The top 10 in those divisions is insane. It's just insane. It's full of killers, like killers, like those divisions. Like those are the hardest divisions to be the champion in. That's why Khamzat Chimaev ran away from welterweights and he ran to middleweights. Because middleweights you can be the champion easily. I mean, I'm not saying it's easy, but the competition is not as um it's, it's not as competitive as the other divisions. You know what I mean? especially the bantamweight division. The bantamweight division is crazy stacked. Bantamweight division, Marab is the champ, Sean O'Malley, Umar Nurmagomedov, Corey Sanhagen, Davison Figueiredo, Peter Yan, crazy. And then you featherweights, Alexander Volkanovski, Diego Lopez. Who else? You've got John Silva, you've got Aljamain Sterling, you've got Yair Rodriguez, um, Mosva Imavov. It's packed. And then lightweights, obviously lightweights. The most famous division in the UFC, Elliot Soporia, you've got Arman Sarukian, Charles Oliveira, Max Holloway. Um, just a packed division, man. And then welterweights, you know, JDM, and then Makachev, Islam Makachev coming up. You've got Sean Brady, Ian Gary, Usman. Usman is also still in the picture, and then Carlos Prates. Like I hope Carlos Prates someday gets the belt, man. Like that spinning elbow he had, that was insane, man. That spinning elbow. Like I remember, I was watching the fights on my other phone, and I had my earphones on, and then uh, Carlos Prates kind of threw a knee, like no, not a knee, an elbow. Like he kind of spammed the elbow, kind of walked away, and then bah, out of nowhere, like that. The sound when he landed the elbow on his skull, I could hear the sound in my earphones. That was scary, man. That was a scary sound. But yeah, the bantamweight division, the featherweight division, the lightweight division, and the welterweight division are all extremely stacked. And and to be honest, man, those sport divisions are really saving the UFC. Like, they're really, really saving the UFC. Because whenever the top five are fighting, it's always fun fights. Got a comment here from DJ saying Mighty Mouse, the GOAT of UFC. Um, I mean, I guess you could say that, but I don't really believe that, man. He's not my GOAT. Usman won't be champion. Yeah, he won't be champion anymore. He won't be champion anymore. I think Usman has one more fight left in him. I think he's got one more fight and he retires. I think he's got one more fight and he retires because he's not beating Jack Della Maddalena, that's for sure. And if Islam Makhachev gets the belts, he's not fighting Islam Makhachev. He's not fighting Islam. I know he said he would, but he knows that he can't beat Islam Makhachev. DJ saying Usman is washed. I mean, yeah, but that performance he had against Jaquan Buckley was kind of cool. That was awesome. The wrestling he put on Jaquan Buckley was like prime Usman, and he did that with no knees. He beats a prime Jaquan Buckley with no knees. That was insane. DJ saying DDP getting back shots for 5 rounds. It's crazy, man. That's a crazy comment. That's a crazy comment, man. Um, I wouldn't say he's washed. It's just old, bro. Yeah. He's old. Um, yeah, it's just old, man. It's just old. He's very close to retirement. But I know Usman has been complaining about his knees for like forever now. And I've been watching him walk. I was on his Instagram and I was seeing him. He's in Nigeria right now. He's got a promotion, an MMA promotion here in Nigeria, Africa Knockouts. And I was watching him when he was coming down the stage. Like he literally almost fell on the stairs. I'm not even trolling, guys. Like there's a video of him like he was wearing like some shine like a shiny suits and he was walking down the stage and then he came towards the stairs and he almost fell. Like he tripped. Bro literally has no knees. And he still won against Jaquan Buckley. How? I don't know. But yeah, man, he's still the GOAT, or at least not the GOAT, but he's the second best of all time at welterweight, and you can't take that away from him. And that 2021 run that Kamaru Usman had, beating the brakes off Kofi Covington and taking out Hoya Masvidal in his prime. Well, not in his prime, but when Hoya Masvidal was, the biggest thing in the UFC, took out his head. That was insane. Yeah, I also wouldn't say he's washed. I wouldn't say he's washed. I just say that he's dealing with a lot of injuries and he's old. But Usman, one of the goats, man, one of the goats for sure. Top three for me. Top three goats. Top three all time for me. Kamaru Usman, because you can't deny what he did. You know, you're laughing, bro. I swear. Listen, go check out. I think his promotion is called AKO. AKO African Knockouts or something like that. Or go check out his, if you've got Instagram, go check out his story and um, go check out the name of his organization, and you're gonna see that they literally posted he was coming down, right? So he had like a massive entrance, like welcome back our boss Kamaru Usman, and then he's walking down. This was him, like he's walking down, like this was his walk. He's walking down, he's waving at everyone, and then I think he wasn't looking. I think he wasn't looking. So he's walking on the stage, so he's waving at everyone, and then the stairs. There were stairs behind him, and then he literally just. And then he continued walking. That was him. I swear, man, bro literally has no knees. That was insane. I was like, what's happening? Bro, I laughed so hard when I saw that. Like I laughed so hard. Like I was like, Kamaru definitely has no knees. Like I thought people were just trolling him on Instagram and they were trying to rage bait him, but bro has no knees, man. Bro has no knees. But he still is able to get in the octagon and win fights against guys like Shaquan Buckley. So I mean, he's a GOAT. You know what I mean? Beating a guy in his prime with no knees. That's insane. That is insane. Yeah. That was it, man. I swear. Like, go check out Instagram. You'll see that video. You'll see that video, bro. That was insane. Again, guys, if you're new to the chat, make sure to subscribe, man. We've gotta get my subscribers up. Subscribe. Um, any and all UFC questions, man. Any and all UFC questions. You've got a question you wanna ask. You've got a topic you wanna talk about. We're here, man. We're here. He also did quite well against Khamzat. Yeah, did quite well, man, especially on short notice as well. But I think I'm not even trying to defend Khamzat, but I heard Khamzat was very sick coming into that fight. So I don't know. Yeah, he did well. His takedown defense looked well. He was able to strike with him. I actually had Usman winning that fight. I think Usman won the first and second round, and Chimaev dominated the third round. But the fight card was in Abu Dhabi, so even if um, Kamaru Usman won all those 3 rounds comfortably, they were still gonna give him that fight because you know how the judges are in Abu Dhabi. They don't want to see Khamzat Chimaev lose because that's where he's from. I mean, he's from Chechen, but you know he basically lives in Abu Dhabi. Usman has the best takedown defense, definitely in the welterweight division. Usman has the best takedown defense. Yeah, for sure has the best takedown. Gone is gonna whoop Tom Aspinall. Look at this guy. Chat, chat. Someone actually believes, like, there's some guy in the world that actually believes Cyril Gane is gonna beat Tom Aspinall. There's a guy out there in the world that believes. I know it's MMA, and I know that we never know what's gonna happen. You know what I mean? Like we never know whether the guys are having a proper training camp or if coming into the fight hurts. But I mean, come on, bro. Come on, bro. Gone beating Tom Aspinall. Come on, dog. I know you're trolling. Gone has better striking than Tom Aspinall. What? What? Cyril Gane. I know. Maybe you're talking about another Gane. Cyril Gane has better striking than Tom Aspinall, bro. Come on, dog. I know you're trolling. I know you're trolling. Cyril Gane. Cyril Gane, the guy from France, the guy that lost to John Jones in 1 minute. Cyril Gane, the guy that got taken down by Nazardini Mavov multiple times in the gym. Cyril Gane, the guy that lost to Alexander Volkov. That guy has better striking than Tom Aspinall. Tom Aspinall, the guy that beats Alexander Volkov. Tom Aspinall, the guy that literally retired John Jones without having to fight him. Come on, dog. Stop trolling, bro. It's heavyweight, bro. One punch can change everything, but Tom is just better overall. He can just take him down and submit him if he doesn't want to strike. If he doesn't want to strike, gone. I mean, yeah, it is the heavyweight, but I've noticed that Gane doesn't. Cyril Gane and guys, we can debate. Cyril Gane has never knocked out anyone in the UFC with just one punch. No one. I've been watching Gane since he made his debut. Like he's one of the best technical strikers in the heavyweight division, even in the UFC. But when it comes to like knocking guys out flats with just one punch, like the other heavyweights, he doesn't have that. And Tom Aspinall has that. Tom Aspinall has that. Aspinall beats. Aspinall's best win is Curtis Blades, bro. No, oh, it's not. That's not his best win. Um, or maybe you think that's his best win, but for me, his best win is Alexander Volkov. Not even Volkov. No, it's Sergey Pavlovich when he won the interim belt. That's his best win. On short notice, flew around the world, went to MSG, and beat the scariest guy in the division at the time. I mean, when Tom Aspinall knocked out Sergey Pavlovich, that's when Pavlovich was like the white, was being called the white Francis Ngannou. Everyone was literally everyone. The entire division was scared of Sergey Pavlovich. That's when he had just knocked out Taito Uvasa, and he was coming off of like a 5 fight KO streak in round one. So nah, man. Tom Aspinall's best win is Sergey Pavlovich, bro. And again, guys, please make sure to subscribe. Just hit the subscribe button before your guys leave, man. We gotta get my subscribers up. Aspinall couldn't stand with Volkov. He had to take him down. I mean, listen, a win's a win. A win's a win, and he did it in round one. It's not that he couldn't; he didn't want to. I mean, these guys, you've got to remember. I mean, these guys, they don't get paid by the hour. You get paid to get in there and win. So he knew he had a better ground game than Volkov, so he just took him down. And speaking of standing up with Volkov, what happened when Cyril Gane stood up with was standing up with Volkov? If I remember, Volkov was winning on the feet. He even landed that massive spinning back fist, almost knocked him out, and then somehow Cyril Gane won the fight. I don't know how. Like I don't know how some of these judges, like I don't know what they're watching, man. Like it should be Aspinall, it should be Volkov fighting Gane. Um, Watch what Gane did to Derek Lewis, bro. You cannot compare Derek Lewis to Tom Aspinall. Those are two completely different fighters. One is on his way to being the heavyweight GOAT, and the other guy is just Like I don't want to disrespect the Black Beast, but like he'll never get near a title. Uh, Waiting for October 4th. It's a big one, man. Ankalaev versus Pereira too. That's a big one. He has good Muay Thai, but no takedown defense. Lol. That's Cyril Gahn. Yeah, like I said, Cyril Gahn has one of the best stand up in the UFC. Not just at heavyweights, but I swear, man, his stand up is so clean. It's crisp, and it's just it's kind of cool, man. But I don't know. I just don't see him getting the W over Tom Aspinall. I think Tom Aspinall goes in there and proves a statement. But then again, it would be insane if somehow Cyril Gahn gets the victory over Tom Aspinall. Imagine the tweets that are gonna come from John Jones, the John Jones fans. Yeah, we told you guys. We were saying that John was ducking Tom Aspinall. I cannot. I don't want to. I don't want to see that. I do not want to see that. So I'm hoping that Aspinall beats Cyril Gahn. Sergey who? Lol, another hype train. Come on, bro. Do not troll Sergey Popovich. He just won yesterday. He literally won yesterday against what's his name? Valdo Acosta or something like that. He won yesterday. So Sergey, he's not the guy he was, but before he fought Tom Aspinall, he was the scariest guy in the division. And you can't tell me I'm lying. You can't tell me I'm lying. Even Cyril Gahn did not want to take a fight against Pavlovich at the time. Cyril Gahn refused to fight Pavlovich, bro. Um, Gahn losing to John Jones means nothing. That's the GOAT. What do you expect? And he nearly beat Francis if he didn't go for the submission. I mean, you can't say it means nothing. He lost. Even if he lost to John Jones, he still lost. And he lost in one round in 1 minute. He still lost, bro. And he wasn't he didn't almost finish. He didn't win almost against Francis Ngannou. And the only reason why Francis Ngannou versus Cyril Gahn was competitive, not even competitive, but it was a boring fight. But the only reason why Gahn had a chance was because Francis Ngannou had no knees. If you remember, Francis Ngannou, he was wearing that patch on the legs because he was injured. So you know, and another crazy thing about Cyril Gahn, this is Cyril Gahn's third shot at the title. The first time it was against Francis Ngannou, and then he got the shots against John Jones, and then now he's got another title shots that he shouldn't be getting because he lost to Volkov. He's getting another one against Tom Aspinall. Three title shots in like what? Three title shots in 3 years, and he's not even an active guy. It's like Cyril Gahn. I think he has like two fights in the last 3 years, if I'm not mistaken. Um, I think Aspinall. I think Aspinall would definitely win against Gahn. Yeah, I think so too. I think so too. I don't see how Gahn beats him. Listen, if they go in there and Tom Aspinall had a good fight camp, no serious injuries, even Gahn too, good fight camp, no serious injuries. There is no way Gahn gets the W because he doesn't even have knockout power. He has to like hurt you, and then kind of like rain punches on you, like ground and pound or ground and pound or kind of like if he's hurt you on the feet and then just throw strikes and then he can TKO you. But he doesn't have that one KO power, and we know that Tom Aspinall has that KO power. We know, we know. We saw what he did to Sergey Pavlovich. Papa, right hand out, hammer fist done. Um, Man, to be honest, the heavyweight division is so dead. Crazy, bro. And I don't understand why Dana cut What's this guy's name? Rosenstrike. I don't understand why they cut Rosenstrike from the UFC because the UFC the heavyweight division needs him. He's one of the best strikers in the heavyweight division. And the heavyweight division, I think they've got like 40, not even 40. I think it's like 30 fighters. You know, divisions like the lightweight division has like 100 and something fighters. The middleweight division has I think like 100 and something fighters also. And bantamweight division has like 80 fighters, and then the heavyweight division has just 30 fighters, bro. 30 fighters in the entire division. So that's insane. That is insane. It's kind of dead, bro. I mean, but if anyone's gonna save the division, it's Tom Aspinall. But then what's gonna happen if Tom Aspinall um KOs when Tom Aspinall KOs what's his name, Cyril Gahn? Who else is he gonna fight? I mean, we've got Volkov, you've got who else? What's that guy from Brazil? The wrestler, like what's his name? I keep forgetting his name. The guy from Brazil. Um, I forgot his name, but we've got that guy and the Almeida. Thank you, Almeida. You've got him. And then who else? I don't think there's anyone else for Espinal. If he gets past Ghan, there's only Alexander Volkov and Almeida. Plus, Alexander Volkov and Almeida are fighting at UFC 321. So the winner of that fight is gonna get the winner of Tom Aspinall versus Cyril Gahn. And then who else do we have in the division? No one's exciting, man. In the heavyweight division, Taito Ivasa, he's basically retired now. He's like 400 pounds. Um, but there was this guy that faced Curtis Blades at UFC Baku. I don't remember his name, but he looks like he's gonna be a problem at heavyweight. Remember UFC Baku? There was that guy that was fighting Curtis Blades. I don't know his name, but I remember watching that fight and watching his fighting style, and he's gonna be a problem for the other fighters in the division because Curtis Blades. I mean, he's been in the top five forever, so he's a hard guy to beat if you're not Tom Aspinall. Um, but yeah, man, the heavyweight division, it's kind of crazy how there's only 30 fighters in the heavyweight division. Insane. Which is supposed to be the heavyweight division is supposed to be the biggest division in the UFC, but that's just kind of whack. Francis was scared to stand up with Ghan. I mean, we could kind of say he was scared or he was hurt and he did not want to take any chances. But that was a boring fight, man. Francis Ngannou versus Cyril Gahn was one of the most boring fights ever. Gahn turned Francis into a wrestler. I don't think that Gahn turned him into a wrestler. I think Francis was hurt and he chose to approach Gahn um, with the wrestling style. Heavyweights is only boring because Tom's the champ. When John comes back, it's gonna be fun again. Jones is not coming back, bro. The only world in which John Jones comes back is if somehow Cyril Gahn defeats Tom Aspinall, and then we're gonna get the rematch. But yeah, I was watching a couple interviews, and Dana White was saying that John Jones is a hard guy to work with, and he's not very reliable. You can't trust him to main event fight cards anymore because you never know if he's gonna show up or not. But I don't think Jones is coming back. I don't want to see John Jones come back. I mean, after an entire year, bro, like an entire year of promising us that we're gonna see the fights against Tom Aspinall, UFC literally had to go to Saudi Arabia to get John Jones the 30 million that he wants. They went to Saudi Arabia. They got Saudi Arabia involved. That what's the guy? Turkey guy. He got involved, and they gave him the money that he wants. All he had to do was sign the contracts and show up, and he decided to retire. He said he does not want to fight Tom Aspinall. And That was crazy, man. Like an entire year of promising us that we're gonna see the Tom Aspinall fight. Tom Aspinall versus John Jones is gonna happen. They give John Jones the money he wants, and then he retires. He runs away. So I don't want to see John Jones back. I'm not interested in John Jones coming back in the UFC. Um, that just yeah, one title defense in an entire year, and he wasn't even hurt. That's the crazy part. He wasn't hurt. That was insane. It will happen. Game says it will happen. I've subbed. I'll be back to say I told you so. What do you think is gonna happen? Tom Aspinall versus John Jones, or Cyril Gahn beating Tom Aspinall? He never promised it. He said from day one he didn't want to fight Tom because he's a disrespectful troll. I mean, yeah, he said that, but then, at the press conference, no, not the press conference, at the post fight, after John, last day in November when John Jones beats, what's his name, Stipe Miocic, he said if the UFC can give him the money they want, if they can give him the money he wants, he's gonna sign on the dotted line and he's gonna fight Tom Aspinall. UFC gave him 30 million, bro. $30 million. That's more money than Conor McGregor gets from the UFC. You know, and they gave John Jones that money. Here you go, sign the contract, fight Tom Aspinall. He ran away. He ran away. He ran away. And then now he's coming back saying he wants to fight at the well, what's that? The White House. That's not gonna happen, bro. That's not gonna happen. It's just that's not gonna happen, man. Gon will beat Tom, and John will come back for the White House card. It's not happening, bro. Even if I feel like even if Cyril Gahn beats Tom Aspinall, I feel like John would not risk fighting Cyril Gahn again because I mean he already beat the guy, so why would he come back? And the UFC are not gonna pay him 30 million to fight a guy he already beats. You know what I mean? So I don't see that fight happening. And Dana White's already said that he doesn't want John Jones on the White House card because Jones is not reliable. He told us he was gonna fight Tom Aspinall and then he pulled out. Um, so I don't think he's gonna come back. And if we're being honest, we don't want to see him back. We don't want to see John Jones back, man. He's just gonna stall the division for another year again. Stall the division and promise us fights that are never gonna happen. But yeah, man, the UFC heavyweight division is by far the worst division. I mean, besides the women's bantamweight division, like besides all the women's divisions, it's like all the worst divisions in the UFC is like the women's divisions, your bantamweight, flyweights, strawweights, and not even strawweight, man. Strawweights is a fun division. Like Zhang Wei Li, I love Zhang Wei Li. I love Zhang Wei Li, and she's got some good opponents in that division. You've got your Rose Namajunas. You've got um, other fighters as well. But yeah, the heavyweight division is just it's kind of crazy. 30 fighters, 30 fighters in that division is insane. Gone, no, Jones only pulled out once against Chell. I mean, yeah, Not once. I mean, I think he also pulled out against DC. Or did no, he didn't pull out, but he took steroids. No, he did pull out. UFC 200s. UFC 200s. He was supposed to fight DC. He pulled out. I agree, though. Heavyweight is trash right now. Yeah, it is, bro. It is, man. It is. Nah, that was over the steroids. He didn't pull out. Nah, he pulled out. UFC 200s. The one with the steroids. I don't remember what fight card it was. I think it was the fight where John Jones he won the fight where he kicked him in the head and then got the ground and pound against the fence. He won that fight, and then it was announced later that John was on steroids, and then it was no contest after. But for UFC 200, he pulled out. John pulled out. And even if it was over the steroids, bro, I mean, you can't defend the guy for taking steroids. And that's why John Jones is not on my GOAT list, man. Like if you're taking steroids to become a better fighter, then you're not a GOAT. You can't be. Everyone's on steroids. It's Nate Diaz. It's Nate Diaz, man. Everyone's on steroids. Nah, man, but seriously though, like if you're like even guys like Anderson Silva, they got what's this? They got caught for using steroids. You know, your TJ Dillashaw's. Like I can't put those guys on my GOAT list, you know, because it's kind of like if you're lifting weights, right, and you do that and you do that for as a professional, you're lifting weights and you become jacked, and you know you work for years to become like a big bodybuilder. You know what I mean? Like a guy that's using steroids, they can't compare themselves to me. Like if I lift weights for like 10 years straight and I become the best bodybuilder in the world, a guy that's using steroids, they can't come up to me and say that we're on the same level or that we're doing the same sports. It's like, nah, bro. It's like I'm clean. Like this is me. Like all these muscles are my hard work. If you're using steroids, that's good, bro. That's you. That's your decision. But you can't come up to me and tell me that you and I were doing the same thing. That you and I the same bodybuilder. You know what I mean? Like it's not the same, dog. So if you know these other guys, they're training and they're fighting and they're not using steroids because it's not allowed, and then John Jones and Anderson Silva are using steroids to win fights, how are they the greatest of all time? I don't understand. How? They can't be. They can't be, bro. If you're using steroids, you're not on the GOAT list. You cannot be. You can't, dog. And tell me if I'm wrong. Tell me if I'm wrong. If I work hard to get the UFC belts, 20 years grinding and training, and then you're doing the same, but you're on steroids because you know they're gonna make you a better fighter. We can't be on the same level. You can't call yourself um you can't say that you're on my level. We can't compare each other. You know what I mean? You're using something to get better and something that's not allowed, you know. So TJ Dillashaw, John Jones, Anderson Silva, they're not on the GOAT list, bro. They use steroids. They're not on the GOAT list. They can't be. They can't be. That's just what I believe, man. I mean, using steroids to get better at fighting, then you can't be on the GOAT list. And you guys can tell me if I'm wrong, chat. Tell me if I'm wrong. Again, guys, it is Zar-Kombat. Make sure to hit the subscription, subscribe. You gotta get my followers up, man. You gotta get them up. We were doing the UFC Paris review a couple hours ago. Like I've been here for a long time now, We're doing the UFC Paris review. We're reviewing the early prelims, the prelims, and the main card. I dropped all of my predictions and what I think is gonna go down in Paris. Yeah, man, it's gonna be a fun one in Paris. I'm gonna go through the main card quickly. For those of you that just joined the chat, so in the main card we've got ZM versus Fernandez. Should be a fun one at fly. It's lightweights. I think ZM gets the W on that one. ZM, if you remember, that was the guy that knocked out Manfred Vola at UFC Paris with a knee to the face. So he's back. I think he's gonna get the W. And then second fights on the main card. Paul Craig from Scotland is back at light heavyweights. Is fighting Bukuskes. Should be an easy one for Paul Craig. A nice submission win. I think that's what's gonna go down. And then my prediction for fight of the night at UFC Paris, Okai versus Mason Jones. Mason Jones, if you do not know who he is, go look up his highlights. He's got one of the best fights in UFC history. Like for me, my best fighters, my favorite fighters in the UFC right now, Carlos Prates, Mason Jones, DDP. Mason Jones, like whenever he's in there, boys, whenever he's in there, it's always a war. So him versus Okai will be a banger. I can guarantee you that. And then we've got Patricio Pitbull back fighting the debuting Kaita. Kaita obviously coming in from I think he's coming in from 1FC. And then Pitbull had his debut against Yair Rodriguez. Recently got the W against Dan Ige. So for that one, I've got Kaita winning. I think Patricio Pitbull is washed. I think he's old. He's very very slow. I think Kaita's gonna be too fast. I think the jab is gonna be too stiff. I think he's gonna get the W, man. And then the big one at lightweights, Benoit Centeni versus Mauricio Ruffi from the Fighting Nerds. This is a big fight, man. It's a big fight at lightweights. I think Mauricio Ruffi is gonna KO Benoit Centeni, man. I think he's gonna KO Benoit Centeni. I think he's yeah, I think Ruffi's just gonna KO Benoit Centeni, man. I think with this fight, he's gonna get a shot at a top 10 at lightweights. Maybe your Benil Dariush, Renato Meccano, one of those guys in the top 10. And then it's the big one at middleweights. Imavov, Nazardine Imavov versus Khalil Pohalio. One of the best fights at middleweights. For this one, I think the guy from France gets it done, Imavov. I think he gets the W. I think Khalil Pohalio going to Chicago, cutting weight for no reason, even though he got paid. Going out there in Chicago, cutting weights, and then having to go to Paris and cut weights again in 3 weeks. That's a tough challenge for him. And fighting a guy like Imavov with the slick boxing, um, great ground game, and just an overall, just overall, man, Imavov is just one of the most complete fighters in the game right now. I think Imavov gets the job done. I don't think he finishes Khalil Bohalio though. I think it's gonna be a 5 round main event. Could be a fun one, could be a boring fight, but either way, I think Imavov wins the fight for sure. Imavov. So that is my prediction for the main card at UFC Paris. Should be a fun one in 2 weeks. No UFC this weekend. Um, UFC back in 2 weeks in Paris. Again, guys, make sure to subscribe to my channel. Subscribe, subscribe. We gotta get my followers up, man. My subscribers up. 500 followers by the end of this week. That is the goal. You'll be seeing a lot of me. I'll be live almost every day for this next week. I won't be at work next week, so I'll be live for you guys. I really gotta get my subscribers up, so please make sure to subscribe, guys. But yeah, man, that is my prediction for the main card in Paris in 2 weeks. Should be a fun one. Should be a fun one in Paris. We've got Goodwill 998 saying a show Jubilee should be in Paris card. So I'm assuming you're from India then, or you're a fan of his. Jubilee, I think the last time we saw him was when he got KO'd at UFC 305 in Australia, I think it was. Uh, what was it? Was it at the beginning of this year? I don't know, but I know he got KO'd though. Ashul Jubilee. Um, like Tony Ferguson, double cut weights is just dumb. Yeah, it's just that's what I was saying, bro. It's dumb, dog. Like it doesn't make any sense. I mean, I know that when these guys cut weights, and the backup fights is for big fights, I know they get paid, but I mean, if you're cutting weights and then you've got a fight in like 2 weeks, why? What's the use? What's the use? You know, like it doesn't make sense, man. I think that weight cuts is gonna be too much for him. You know, it's gonna be too much for him, and it's gonna drain a lot of energy from him. And we saw what happened to Tony Ferguson, man. I mean, there was no need for him to cut the weights, and then he did two weight cuts in like 3 weeks, and then he got beat by Justin Gaethje. I think that's what's gonna happen with Mimavo versus Khalil Pohalio. No need to do double weight cuts at all, but yeah, man. I think Imavov wins that fight. Uh, there's a comment here from Goodwill 998 saying a short Jubilee can knock out Imavov. Bro, they don't even fight in the same weight division, bro. I don't know if you're trolling or you're just joking. But and he said easily. A short Jubilee can knock out Imavov easily. I know bro's trolling. Like you're definitely trolling, bro. But yeah, I don't know who's Jubilee fighting next. But yeah, guys, these next 2 months are gonna be a fun 2 months for the UFC, man. We've got UFC Paris, we've got Noche, UFC, we've got UFC Perth, Noche UFC, Diego Lopez versus John Silva, UFC Perth. We've got you've got Carlos Alberg versus Dominic Reyes, and then what do we have? UFC 320, Ankalaev versus Pereira 2, and then we've got who else? October 4th, 11th, UFC Rio, the GOAT, the greatest of all time, Charlize Dupronx is back against Fazeev. And then it's UFC 321, Tom Aspinall versus Cyril Gahn. That's going to be a fun one. That should be a fun one. Man, this guy Goodwill 998 is a very, very big fan of Ashul Jubilee. Jubilee versus Deodorant next. ah, yeah. Jubilee. That's a funny guy. Charlize, I get dropped every fight. Olives, and he gets back up every single time. He didn't get up against the it's Tuporia. There was an AI fight. Um, I know AI was behind Ilya Tuporia versus Oliveira, but every time he gets dropped, he gets up, bro. He gets up. I'm not even trolling, dog. I mean, it was AI. No one even remembers how the fight went down. Charlize was literally winning. And plus, and I want to bring this up, Charlize, Dupronx, the GOAT, Dupronx, Oliveira, submitted Ilya Topuria in that fight. Like I didn't watch that. I didn't rewatch that fight because of how that fight ended due to AI. But when I was watching that fight live, and I saw Taporia tap. I saw Taporia tap, and the UFC wanted to give Taporia the W. So I just have to put that out there that the UFC does not like Charles Oliveira do Bronx. I don't know why. He's a legend. He's the best fighter that the UFC has ever seen. The real GOAT is Charles Du Bronx Oliveira. But for some reason, man, the UFC, Charles Oliveira literally, he, listen, bro, like Ilya Topuria tapped. I saw him tap. And I think the referee was Mark Garnett or Herb Dean. And we were told by the UFC not to stop that fight. Go rewatch the fight. Like he literally tapped on Seporia. I mean, he tapped on Oliveira. I saw it happen live. Charles submitted himself, sleeping on the canvas. Bro, AI. AI is the craziest thing that's ever happened in the UFC, man. I can't believe the UFC brought in AI. Insane. But man, nah, seriously though, like I remember watching that fight live. I remember watching that fight live, and I saw Seporia tap, bro. I did. I literally did. And to really show you that the UFC wanted Topuria to win, how can Topuria get the red corner when he's moving up a division, you know? And then Charles Oliveira gets the blue corner. That didn't make sense. That's when I knew the UFC were gonna use AI to make Ilya Topuria win because they want to make Ilya Topuria versus Islam Makhachev because that's the money fight. But as soon as they announced that Ilya Topuria was going to get the red corner, that's when I knew that they were going to use AI to make sure that Oliveira loses. That's when I knew. Because, like, seriously, bro, like, how can a guy move up a division and then he's moving up and he gets the red corner? He's never even fought in the division, but he gets the red corner. How? You tell me. It's because the UFC are conspiring against Charles Oliveira. The UFC has been conspiring against Charles Oliveira. I'm telling you, dog. Even when Charles Oliveira was submitted against Makachev, that was AI. That was AI. The UFC forced Charles to fly all the way to Abu Dhabi. They know that whenever Islam Makhachev fights in Abu Dhabi, he uses steroids. And they gave him Makachev in Abu Dhabi on steroids to fight Charles Oliveira. I don't know why Dana White hates Charles Oliveira so much. I don't know, man. But Charlize Du Bronx, still the GOAT, still the best thing that ever happened in the UFC. I'm not coping, bro. These are facts that are coming out of my mouth. Accept them or not, these are facts. Tony Ferguson, someone's fighting. Nah, there's no fights tonight, bro. I'm just I was doing a live stream on the UFC Paris card. I was dropping some predictions for the fights. No UFC this weekend, so just dropping some predictions for UFC Paris, man. Again, guys, please make sure to subscribe. We've got to get my subscribers up, boys. We've got to get my subscribers up. Ilya and Khamzat, the biggest stars in the UFC. Yeah, Ilya, Khamzat, and Islam, the biggest stars in the UFC today, for sure. I think all those guys have like more than 10 million followers, 10 million followers on Instagram. Um, but for my money, I think Khamzat is the biggest star out of those three. But that performance he had against DDP, the stock went down for sure. Stock went down for sure. Isn't Dead Until versus Rockhold this week? I don't know, bro. Yeah, Misfits Boxing. If that's true, that means it's also Tony Ferguson fight week. I know Tony Ferguson is fighting. I don't know who is fighting, but I know it's one of those one of those irritating content creators. And the downfall, listen, bro, like the downfall of Tony Ferguson has to be studied, man. From getting booked to fight Khabib Nurmagomedov for the title, to going on a losing streak, and then to being booked to fight, what's his name, Soul Papi. What even is that? What's a Soul Papi, bro? I mean, that that's an insane decline. But I feel like Tony Ferguson should have retired after he lost to not Oliveira, but after he lost to um I think after the Chandler fight, man. Like after he lost to Michael Chandler, that was a brutal KO. I think he should have retired from the UFC then, because then after like he lost to Michael Keita, and then he lost to Ling Jing Liang, the Leech, and he lost to Tony. No, he lost to Bobby Green, Paddy Pimblett, and then he got signed to GFL. He was gonna fight what's this guy's name? Dylan Dennis, and then that didn't happen, and then now he's in boxing. But yeah, the career downfall of Tony Ferguson was very very sad to watch. But yeah, I don't know if Till versus Rockhold is going down this weekend. I'm still gonna have to research that up. It might be going down this weekend. Who knows? Um, you've got Game here saying what Hamza dominated DDP. How can you say his stock dropped? I'm not saying he didn't dominate DDP, and it wasn't even a domination, bro. He just literally was on DDP's back for an entire 22 minutes and did nothing with the position. The only reason why I'm saying his stock went down was because he didn't attempt any submissions. He didn't, you know, try to hurt DDP. The only submission attempt that went down in that fight was when DDP tried to was when DDP almost got the submission in round five. You know, and that's I mean the stock has to drop down, bro. Unless Hamza Chimaev in his next fight gets like a submission in round one, then I think his stock is gonna go way back up again. But because of the hype that we got from Dracus versus Hamza, like I remember that like that building into that fight, like we were thinking, or at least I was thinking, like was gonna be such an amazing fight, and it was gonna be a war. What's gonna happen? The immovable force meets the unstoppable force. What's gonna happen? And then DDP Khamzat ends up being a boring fight. That was very disappointing. I think both those guys' stock went down for sure. For sure. Guaranteed, bro. Guaranteed. And what's worse, I think Drickus' stock went up because of the heart that he had in round five. I was on the UFC's channel on YouTube, and I saw that Dracus Duplessis has more views than Hamza Chimaev. The post fight post fight interview, Dracus Duplessis has more views than Hamza Chimaev, which should not be the case. Hamza Chimaev literally has like millions of more viewers than millions of more followers around the world than Dracus Duplessis. But Dracus Duplessis is doing more numbers than Hamza Chimaev on social media because Hamza Chimaev's stock is dropping down, bro. I mean, it's a fact. It is a fact, you know. The only way Hamza can really save his stock is if he goes out in his next fight and really, really puts on a statement and he gets a submission win. That's the only way his stock is going to rise back up. Other than that, it's dropping, dog. It's dropping. If DDP, Dracus Duplessis, who does not have a million followers on Instagram, if Dracus Duplessis is pulling in more numbers than Hamza Chimaev, that means that either Dracus' stock is going up or Hamza Chimaev's stock is going down. And I believe both those cases are true. The Calvin in the chat. That's my brother. That's my South African brother. Um, that's my brother, man. Silent Jayam. Hamzat big broed him. Lol, he wasn't even trying. And listen, you keep on saying that I'm coping. I feel like you're the one that's coping, bro. I mean, yeah, he had better wrestling than him, but in terms of bullying him or big brothering him, listen, if Hamzat Chimaev did damage on the ground, like if he was had brutal ground and pound, you know, on the ground and submitted more or tried more submission attempts, then I would say, you know, Hamzat Chimaev bullied DDP. But he sat on him for 5 rounds, 25 minutes. And 22 minutes of those 25 minutes, he had the crucifix position and he did nothing with that position. So, yeah, man, Hamzat won the belt, but it was a boring fight and his stock went down. Again, guys, if you just joined the chat, make sure to subscribe to the channel. My target for this weekend is to get to 500 subscribers on YouTube. That's the goal, guys. That's the goal. We're getting to that goal. It's gonna be done this week. 500 subscribers by the end of August. It's gonna go down. So yeah, man, just make sure to subscribe, guys. Drake has had so much trash talk online, but face to face said nothing. Uh Hamzat as well. Hamzat as well. I feel like they were going back and forth on Twitter, but it was really more of Hamzat than Drakus Duplessis because when they first came, when they met on face to face, Hamzat Chimaev was the one that went to Drakus Duplessis, shook his hand, and said, "Yo, man, listen, nothing personal. We're just here to fight," you know. And Drakus is the type of guy that if you wanna beef and you wanna make things personal. He's not scared to make things personal. But if you're saying it's all respectful, then I think it was more of Hamzat's fault. The person that was talking the most trash um, wasn't even the fighters. It was Drakus's coach. You know, I feel like that's the person that got most humbled, even more than DDP. You know, Drakus's coach was saying that how is Hamza gonna beat us? He's coming into this fight with just one thing, and that's wrestling. And then that was the only thing that Hamza needed to do to actually get the victory. So I know for his coach, that was a very humbling experience. Even Drakus as well, but more so for his coach. He wanted to prove he could go 5 rounds. Nah, bro. Nah, bro. Nah. I can't agree with that. I cannot agree with that. Listen, if he wants to go 5 rounds, then maybe. But if he wanted to go 5 rounds, then he should have been more aggressive. You know, he should have been more aggressive. Or if he wanted to prove that he's got his cardio up and he can actually stand for 5 rounds, then he should have struck with Drickus more. You know, show us you've got cardio, then stand with the guy. Stand with the best striker in the division. Why are you wrestling? And I can't even blame Khamzat because the guy that I have to blame is Aman Sarukian. Aman Sarukian obviously was in Khamzat Chimaev's corner, and Khamzat was asking in between rounds, like, can I strike with him now? And his corner was saying, no, don't strike, do not box with him. You're winning on the ground. Just lay on him for the entire round and you're going to win the belt. So I don't even blame Khamzat. I blame Aman Sarukian. Blame Aman Sarukian and I blame Khamzat's coaches for making us watch that boring fight. I was so disappointed, man. Like, there was so much hype coming into that fight, so many expectations, you know. Couldn't even sleep because I was so excited. And then it ended up being a boring fight. But the card was a banger. The card was a banger, definitely, you know. Carlos Prates, spinning elbow, nasty. Lerone Murphy, spinning elbow. Who would have thought? Lerone Murphy getting a finish in 2025, getting a shot at the title against Volkanovski. That was awesome. So it would have been such an amazing card if, like, after all those fights leading up to the biggest fight of the year, Khamzat and DDP, and then it being like a good fight, 319 would have been an historic card. But because the main event was boring, now it's man, it was disappointing. That's all I can say. Khamzat never said the belt. Khamzat said the belt never going back to Africa. DDP looked like he was gonna cry, scared all week. Nah, bro, nah. DDP even they didn't even hear him. Like I didn't hear Khamzat when he said that the first time. I was watching the press conference live, and like the crowd, like everyone was going crazy for Chimaev. Obviously, he's a superstar, but his English, like I couldn't hear him. And I know Trickers, with the noise, the fans going crazy in the arena, and then trying to hear what the other guy's saying. I know we didn't hear him because I had my earphones on, listening to the press conference, and I couldn't hear what Khamzat Chimaev was saying. Trickers is going to take a long break. Yeah, he has to. He has to. He was a very active champion, so he deserves to take a long break. Plus, the middleweight division is still, that division is trying to figure itself out. You've got Imavov and Khalil Pahalio going down at UFC Paris. Just did the predictions for that fight, the review. So if you just got into the channel, go make sure to check out the predictions for that, and do not forget to subscribe. But the middleweight division, it's kind of stacked right now, or not even stacked, but it's still trying to figure itself out. Imavov and Khalil Pahayo going to war in 2 weeks, and then UFC Vancouver, we've got RTR, Renya Derrida, which I have to say, man, Renya Derrida, one of the most active guys in the UFC, man. Like, what an absolute animal Renya Derrida is. He's having his fifth fight in the UFC. He debuted last year in November, and he's having his fifth fight in 2025. Absolutely insane. Yeah, UFC Vancouver, Renya Derrida versus Anthony Fluffy Hernandez. It should be a fun one. So the division is still trying to figure itself out, and then we've got MVP also in the mix. We've got who else? Um, Brendan Allen also in the mix. So I think DDP is just gonna take a break. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4. We've got 4 more months left in 2025. That's enough time to watch the entire division play itself out, and then once the division seems like it's figured itself out, then I believe that the UFC has to come here to South Africa. The UFC definitely owes Strikers a fight night in South Africa, man. Come on. If the PFL can come here and not even come here, but come here 2 times in 1 month in two different provinces, um, they've got to come here, man. Give DDP the fight night that he deserves in front of his people against anyone in the top 10, not even top 10, top 5, or even top 10 also. That's fine. I think DDP beats anyone anyway in the top 10. DDP against anyone in the top 10 in the middleweight division. Um, UFC fight night next year, Cape Town, Durban, Johannesburg, whatever. But they have to come here. Drake has fought in America, Australia twice, um, and he's fought wherever the UFC wants him to fight, and they owe him a fight card. They owe him an event here in South Africa, and now it's kind of easier, because the PFL came here 2 times, and it showed the UFC that there are fans, MMA fans here in South Africa, and they can fill up any arena in the country. So when they come here, it's um it's gonna be packed, and the country is gonna come out in support for Trekkers Duplessis. That's for sure. Um, that Lerone Murphy KO, yeah, man, that was crazy. Two spinning back to back, two spinning elbow KOs. That was insane. But yeah, and brutal, bro, like brutal. Those KOs were brutal and unexpected as well. Like, Carlos Pratt says that was insane. The walk off was just cold. That walk off, bah, and spins elbow. Oh, Neil Maggie's dead, and then just walks away. Insane. And then Leron Murphy, Aaron Pico, Leron Murphy looking like he was having trouble. Pico was picking him apart, and then out of nowhere, bah, spins, lands the elbow, hammer fist, and now he's gonna fight Alexander Volkanovski. That's why I love the UFC, man. It's because you never really know. Is the coach kissing really a South African thing? I wouldn't say it's a South African thing. It's more of an I don't know, man. I can't speak for all of South Africa, but um, it might be an Afrikaans thing. And you know what, man? I don't even want to get any haters. I'm not gonna. I'm not. I'm not. It's not a South African thing, bro. I think it's just like that Team CTI. That's what they like. That's their thing. You know. I've seen some weird things in this country as well. Like some guys hold hands. Like you'll see gangsters, bro. Like killers hold hands. Like literally walking friends, killers holding hands. So I mean, it's weird for me. Doesn't make any sense, but I don't know, man. I wouldn't say it's a thing here in my country, but it's a thing between those guys. It's a thing between them. Can't believe I've been live for so long. 3 hours and 20 minutes. I think this is by far the longest time I've been live. So yeah, Chad, just drop any comments before I try and close this off. It is now uh 8:47 p.m. in South Africa. We've been live for a while now. And, yeah, we were doing the UFC Paris review, the early prelims, the prelims, and the main card. Dropped all of my predictions. I will be live more this weekend because I'll have a lot of time to be live, and we'll be doing the fight cards that are gonna be coming up. We've got No Chair UFC, we've got UFC Perth, we've got UFC 320, UFC Rio, my glorious king, Charlize Dupronx Oliveira's back. You've got UFC 321. That should be a fun one. So there's a lot of things just unravel in the MMA world. Should be a fun 2 months, man. September and October for the UFC fans is gonna be fun. Plus, there's no Apex cards. I think for the rest of the year, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, the UFC's out of the Apex for the rest of the year. So not even the next just 2 months, man. 2025 as a whole, like the entire 4 months is gonna be insane. I think UFC 322, most likely Islam Makachev and Jack Della Maddalena are gonna headline that fight. So the UFC are gonna be dropping that news soon. And then 325, I do not know who's gonna headline that fight card. I don't know. Because I'm hearing rumors that Ilya Taporia does not want to fight anyone this year. He wants to fight early next year. So I was thinking Ilya Taporia maybe in December, but now I'm thinking, I mean, if Hamza Chimaev wants to redeem himself and wants to give us an exciting fight, he could fight in December. Or who else? Who else? Who else? Who else? Oh, Alexander Volkanovski. Alexander Volkanovski and Lerone Murphy. That's definitely going down in December. That's going down in December. I forgot about that fight. I forgot that that fight is definitely happening this year. I mean, both guys said that they want to fight one more time this year. More than enough time to prepare. 4 months is is enough time for a proper training camp. So December at T-Mobile Arena Alexander Volkanovski versus Lerone Murphy. What a main event! I cannot wait for that fight. Cannot wait because I know it's not gonna be. It's not gonna be. I think you've got Alexander Volkanovski, a guy that likes to kind of pick guys apart. And then Lerone Murphy also likes to pick guys apart. He likes to strike from a distance, counter strike, and Volkanovski is also the same. So when you get those two guys and they collide, it's always like an exciting fight. It always ends up being like a war. You know what I mean? And yeah, I think I'm excited for that fight. I'm excited for that fight. Hopefully the UFC can announce Islam versus JDM soon because I'm tired of waiting for that fight. And then yeah man, the next 4 months in the UFC should be insane. It should be insane. Should be fun. Should be fun. Yeah, chat. For those of you new in the chat, just came along. You guys are well, man. Please make sure to subscribe. We're getting these subscribers up, man. We're getting them up. We're getting them up. We are getting them up. 500 subscribers by the end of this week. That's the goal. That's what we're aiming for, and that's what we're gonna get. Um, yeah, man. Unless you guys have anything else you want to say, got any questions on the UFC, drop a comment, man. If not, then guess I should leave. Then we've been live for 3 hours and 26 minutes. Been a while. Um, really said everything I had to say, and I think I've answered all of the questions on the comments. So yeah, man. Unless you guys wanna ask me anything else, UFC related, whatever you wanna ask about the UFC, still here, chat. But yeah, man, I'm very excited for the next few months. Like the next 4 months for the UFC should be one of the best. And then obviously next year, the UFC no longer under ESPN Plus, moving on to Paramount Plus. That's an exciting collaboration, cheaper for the US fans, and for us, it basically stays the same, no difference. But I'm excited to see what the UFC do next year. I think with them removing the pay-per-view model, and because no one really does pay-per-views anymore, if we're being honest, it's normally premium live events, because pay-per-views, it's just that's like that was the best thing in the 2000s. We're in the 2020s now. There's no need for pay-per-views. So it was a smart decision by the UFC, an intelligent decision, a wise business move, because now that allows them to give us the best fights they can put up, and they don't have to worry about them making sure that every month we've got at least two title fights, because that was the issue behind them giving us boring, or not really boring, but weak UFC pay-per-view cards. But I think from next year, I'm excited for the UFC and what they're gonna do. I think we're gonna be seeing a lot of fun fights, like cards that were like UFC 300. I think we're gonna be seeing them a lot more, a lot more, a lot more. And with them signing a deal for 7.7 billion, I'm hoping they're signing all of the best fighters from around the world. They're bringing them into the UFC, and hopefully strikers, man, because all these Dagestani guys, they're killing the UFC. That's not what we want to watch. So obviously, hopefully, they bring in more guys from like Thailand, those guys that like to strike, and guys that like to stand and bang, because that's what the UFC promotes. They promote two guys on the feet, fighting fist to fist for 5 rounds. That's what they promote. They don't promote guys like Hamza Chimaev laying on DDP for 22 minutes of a 22 of a 25-minute fight. That was boring, man. But yeah, I feel like next year is gonna be very 2026 is gonna be an important year for the UFC and a big year for us, the fans, also because we're the ones that are lucky. We're the ones that are gonna be getting all the biggest fights um, that the UFC can put together. But I'm here, chat. Again, for those of y'all that just joined the stream, make sure to subscribe. I'm the guy you want to subscribe to. MMA content, UFC content. Let's go check out my videos, man. Check out my videos. I've got a lot of videos down there. I've got a lot of videos on my channel. Got a lot of live streams as well. Reactions to UFC pay-per-views. Breaking down fights like I was earlier on this stream. So yeah, man. You love MMA. You love the UFC. I'm the guy you want to subscribe to. It is Zar-Kombat, Zarkombat, all the way from South Africa in Durban. We've got two people in the chat that are live right now. Not getting any more comments, so I'm assuming you guys are tired as well. It's been a long stream. It's been a nice stream, a great one actually. By far the best one I've done. I never got as much comments as I did on this one, so it was cool interacting with you guys. Hopefully we can do this again. I will be live tomorrow again. I'm gonna try and find out who's on the Noche UFC card, and we're gonna be reviewing that Noche UFC card for tomorrow. I'll be live, so you make sure you keep an eye out for that. Again, guys, it is Zar-Kombat. Subscribe, like. Until tomorrow, it's been fun. UFC Paris, UFC Paris Fight Night review. Ghost review was fun. We did the early prelims. We did the prelims and then we did the main card. It's a solid card, man. A solid card for Paris. I mean, the UFC always stacks the card when they go to France. I think they're trying to build a connection with the France people because it seems like they're signing more people from that country, and they're gonna be coming there more than once a year in the next years to come. So whenever they go there, they always stack the card. It's always fun fight nights, and I enjoy watching UFC France because whenever it's live, France and South Africa, which is the country I'm in, the times are a bit similar. So I get to finally watch the UFC on Saturdays instead of early Sunday. So yeah, it's a stack card. Imavov versus Kalio Bohalio. A lot on the line. The winner of that most likely gets Hamza Chimaev next. So it's gonna be a big one, man. In 2 weeks, cannot wait. Um, Okai versus Mason Jones, guaranteed. That's the fight of the night. Benoit Saint-Denis versus Mauricio Ruffi. What a fight! What a fight! The winner of that one definitely gets a top 10 ranked fighter next at lightweights, and they can climb the rankings towards the belt. It's a fun card, man. A lot of big names on there. Tupuria, Gustafsson also on there. Brett Tavares, the middleweights veteran also on the card. Man, it's an insane night in Paris in 2 weeks. Imavov versus Kalio Bohalio. Cannot wait. Cannot wait for that fight card. Should be an amazing one, man. It's been fun, boys. Enjoyed debating and rage baiting most of you guys. Some of you trolling me. It was fun. Let's do it again tomorrow, man. It is Zar-Kombat. Subscribe, Like it was a W stream, boys. By far the best one. We'll do it again tomorrow for UFC Noche. We're gonna be reviewing the card for UFC Noche. A big one in Texas. Diego Lopez versus John Silver. One of the best main events that the UFC have put together this year. That's a crazy main event at featherweight. Winner of that one definitely getting a shots at Alexander Volkanovski if uh, Little Murphy doesn't get the job done against him in December. But let's do it again, guys. Tomorrow we'll be live for UFC Noche, reviewing the card and talking about other cards that are going to be coming up. You know, your UFC 20, UFC 321, any and all questions that you have on MMA and on the UFC. Here to answer your questions. Here to tell you my thoughts. But it's been cool. It's been dope. W stream. See you guys again tomorrow, man. Like, subscribe. It is Zar-Kombat. We'll do it again tomorrow, guys.